From the world-class competition of the Olympics to the international stars of the IndyCar Series, the battle to become the next IndyCar champion continues today at the tricky triangle known as Pocono Raceway. While speeds in excess of 230 miles an hour are impressive, what can be even more eye-popping is that those speeds routinely happen here side by side and sometimes even 7 wide. These drivers will compete and concentrate for 3.5 hours with the precision of a surgeon coupled with the stamina of a marathon runner. But Pocono is an arena that tolerates no mistakes. In the championship, the fight is led by Frenchman Simon Pagenaud, who is in search of his first oval victory and an extension of his points lead. Pagenaud is driving for legendary car owner Roger Penske, but Penske has even more talent in his stable. His Australian driver, Will Power, sits second in the points and is gunning for his second championship, while Brazilian teammate Helio Castroneves is also in the points hunt, currently third. 500 miles at Pocono is 200 laps of high-speed chess, and the last time these international stars contested a 500-mile race, it was American rookie Alexander Rossi who emerged victorious at the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. High speed, high stakes, big rewards, it's all about to unfold. The high-speed roller coaster that the Indy Pocono 500 is about to get underway, and what a difference 24 hours makes. The weather absolutely perfect today, and the racing should be intense. For the latest stories from pit lane, let's head first to Kevin Lee.
Brian, some were surprised to see Mikhail Aleshin win his first pole in IndyCar, but they really shouldn't be. The first Russian in IndyCar has been strong on the oval, so is his team, so is Honda. He is fast and furious on these circuits. He will be fun to watch today. Jan Bikas?
And of course, the championship battle, Kevin, has been intense on track between teammates Simon Pagenaud and Will Power, but neither one has qualified as well as they'd like today. Will Power here in 8th, Simon Pagenaud in 14th. However, they both improved their cars in final practice, and I would not be surprised if the two, again, for the second race in a row, are leaning on each other for all 500 miles. Katie?
Jan, it's rare to see Scott Dixon starting in the back of the field, but today he's buried all the way back in 19th. The team admitted they're the ones that made the mistake during qualifying, but the good news is Scott Dixon's been fast in practice all weekend. Expect the Iceman to put on a show as he picks his way through the field for the next 500 miles. Brian?
Scott Dixon certainly has won here before. He knows how to get the job done from the back, and you've got 500 miles to do it, so you can take your time and take advantage of the draft, which will more come into play big time. To get things started, let's head down trackside and get things lit up.
Alfred, Pennsylvania, Fran Jackson to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
Hondas and Chevys coming to life down in pit lane. Welcome everyone, Brian Till, along with Townsend Bell, and filling in for Paul Tracy today, Robin Miller. 1971, the first year that IndyCars ran here at Pocono, and historically speaking, Robin, they always put on a tremendous show.
And remember, Brian, this was built for Indy cars, not stock cars, and it's got 3 different corners, which makes it so challenging, and we saw how challenging it was in hot weather on qualifying and practice on Saturday morning. Well, let's drop the temperature 20 degrees, and the wind's blowing really steady and pretty strong going into turn 1. So T-Bell, it's going to be tough for the drivers, even tougher today.
Well, for sure. Let's talk about that wind. In Saturday's qualifying session, you're doing about 225 miles an hour down that front straightaway. With a pretty heavy tailwind now today, you're going to be looking at about 230 miles an hour. And as you turn into turn 1, typically you're going to have a lot of understeer. The front's not going to want to make the corner. You're going to add steering wheel all through the 152 degrees of turn 1. But as you're coming out, you're going to meet the tailwind now as a headwind, and you've got to loosen up your hands and get ready for it because it can bite you.
Well, it's going to be challenging today, but you know what? It was challenging back on Saturday in practice. Just go to the first practice session. Last year's race winner, Ryan Hunter-Reay, big hit.
Straight out of the pits, qualifying simulation run, low downforce, and it just got away from him there. The back comes around. You hear the throttle hit as his foot goes full throttle from the impact. Luckily, Ryan was okay, but that's the car that he won the Indy 500 and completely destroyed. And this was Charlie Kimball.
Well, and he crashed hard here last year in practice. So the most amazing thing is the tethers do their job. The cars stay on the ground like IndyCar. Unfortunately, the steering wheel didn't stay on the ground, but he escaped injury.
And then Juan Pablo Montoya trying to get up to speed on cold tires. Big hit on the right, then back to the left side of the track as well. On board with Simon Pagenaud.
And this was the second accident that Pagenaud had to witness. Just missed his teammate Montoya. Pagenaud lucky to come away unscathed. Your championship leader will move on today.
Field on the racetrack, and who leads them? That's right, it's the Honda two-seater. Don't miss a chance to get in on Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Enter at racewithhonda.com. Today's lucky winner, Sandy Moon from where else? Indianapolis, Indiana. And how did she do it? You guessed it, she logged on racewithhonda.com. It's just that easy to win the opportunity to start a race with Mario Andretti. Let's take a look at the Mother's Polish starting grid and how they'll line up today. On pole for the first time in his IndyCar career, Mikhail Aloshin, and he was fast when they unloaded off the trailer.
A terrific run for Takuma Sato and a few other Hondas like Munoz and James Hinchcliffe. The 500 pole sitter. Both Schmidt-Peterson cars looking very strong.
Very strong indeed. And then you go back to row 4, you find the Indianapolis 500 champion, Alexander Rossi.
Who's been impressive on both ovals this year. And for a rookie, I think that says a lot about his ability. Will Power, he got his first win at Texas on an oval. Tony Kanaan's never won here, but you know he's going to be strong. Ed Carpenter back on the ovals where he belongs.
Marco Andretti there inside row 7, and beside him, the points leader, Simon Pagenaud. He hasn't qualified this far back since last year at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, that's further back than I would have expected Pagenaud here, but Scott Dixon certainly the big surprise. As Katie reported earlier, the team made some sort of error on the setup, and he'll have to come from deep in the pack today.
So will Ryan Hunter-Reay, because they were not able to get the backup car in the inspection line. So he'll start last, but you'll have some great onboard shots from Ryan Hunter-Reay as he tries to go forward. Graham Rahal along with Bobby Rahal Automotive Group in the number 15. And then on board with Tony Kanaan. He has led here all 3 races that he's run. The NTT data on board will give you some great shots. Interestingly enough, he's never finished in the top 10, but Will Power has. The Verizon on board there, on board the number 12. We'll have some great photos or some great pictures for you all day long. And James Hinchcliffe along with Lucas Oil bringing you some shots as well. And the Verizon streaming on board rides with the number 22 of Simon Pagenaud. Just download the IndyCar mobile to access exclusive live and onboard cameras, hear driver and pit crew chatter, and more only on Verizon. Talk about the tricky triangle, Townsend.
Yeah, we talked about turn 1, and it is long, fast, and sweeping as it goes about 152 degrees, and it really demands your attention at the exit. That's what caught out Ryan Hunter-Reay. As you work your way through turn 1, it sort of tightens up in the middle as you come down to that yellow line at the apex, and then you take a big run down the back straightaway. Turn 2, much like the 4 corners at Indianapolis, just a little less than 90 degrees. It's kind of like a kink when you go flying through there, and if you can stay close to turn 2 to a car in front, you can really carry the speed off turn 3 and have a draft run down the long front straightaway. Let's talk about that front straightaway. The longest in all of oval racing, almost 3,800 feet. But what really makes it unique is how wide that front stretch is. 90 feet wide. Way too much real estate for these guys to use. That's what leads to that 7-8 car wide situation that we've seen in the past.
Well, we saw Ryan Hunter-Reay with the problem on Saturday's practice. How is he, Jan?
Well, this extra day of rest may have helped Ryan Hunter-Reay to some degree. He says his lower back is extremely sore, but I spoke to him just a few moments ago and he said, you know, in the car it doesn't hurt me. It's just tightened up when I'm walking around the paddock. His biggest concern, Townsend, you mentioned it, this is a different car, not his Indy 500 winning chassis that he crashed. He said every car has a different personality and we haven't quite got this car tuned in where I want it.
One of these high-speed ovals, the car setup is absolutely critical. Anything that's off, even to the thousandth of an inch, can have an effect as to how it works through the last corner. Mikhail Aloshin on the pole in that red and blue number 7. The first time he started on the pole, and he's going to do it at Pocono. Look for a little bit later start, and they're not aligned well at all.
No start, no start.
The yellow flag flies. We've seen this at Pocono before.
Well, it's great to see them wave off the start, because at Mid-Ohio, very similar situation when Simon Pagenaud was the pole sitter and got the jump. So it's nice to see IndyCar saying, no, guys, going to have to get things packed back up, and they'll probably determine who jumped the start and give them a warning.
Well, now the start should be pretty late. This is an area for the restart zone. That's back in turn 3, Townsend.
Yeah, and you'll see that here for the restart. But on the front stretch, what IndyCar is looking for is the throttle to be applied by your pole sitter at the attenuator, right there at the start of pit wall. So not sure if Mikhail Aleshin went early, or potentially if Newgarden just got jumped a little bit there, but they'll have another attempt here as they grid up on the backstretch, coming for another try.
Out of turn 2, the field lining up again. Will be the second attempt, and we'll see if we can get it going this time by Josef Newgarden outside. It's Honda power for Mikhail Aleshin, Chevy power for Josef Newgarden. Honda's so strong on the super speedways this year. Look for that attenuator at pit end. They shouldn't go until then.
No.
Green, green, green. We're racing at Pocono, and already they're fanning out. 3, 4, 5 wide.
Wow, Aleshin had really an identical situation. A big jump there as they're side by side back in rows 3 and 4. Looks like that's Takuma Sato in the red, white, blue ABC car going high, and Marco Andretti further back, really going for it.
You've got to wonder if Josef Newgarden just said, I don't want to run side by side on the start and be a victim of people drafting up. I want to drop in behind Aleshin and get that single file run started early down to turn 1. Already Newgarden on Aleshin makes the move. Into turn 3, back on.
Whoa, big crash. That is Sato. Huge crash, just lost it in the middle of 3. Massive, massive impact.
Takuma Sato coming to complete the first green flag lap, heavy contact, turn 3.
Good
in the
sign
car.
to see the visor up, but man, Robin, I know that feeling. It just knocks the wind out of you, and he's in pain.
Yeah.
Well, when you just think about, I mean, you're going so fast through there. Most guys are almost flat. So, I mean, the impact, I mean, the car did a nice job. It looks like to me it held up pretty well. And again, what they did with the cars when they get backwards, they're not getting airborne like they did a couple last year.
And it's just, it seems like seconds until that Homatro safety team is right there with these drivers, the best in the business. They're checking on Sato right now.
The most important piece of business right now is to take care of the driver, and as you said, that is what the Homatro safety team is so well known for. And you've got to think about the weather conditions today. So much cooler than it was on Saturday, and so much cooler than it was when they tested here. You've got to wonder, tires up to temperature and pressures yet?
You know, the hard part in this situation for the driver is oftentimes, like I said, the wind gets knocked out of you, and you really can't breathe for, 30 seconds. And the guys will arrive and try to talk to you, and you're just trying to get your wind back. So have to see if Sato's able to get out under his own power. Is going to need assistance as everybody comes through pit lane. That's likely because of the debris in turn 3. So they're just going to bring the safety car, and that's a great sign to see Sato jumping out unassisted.
Such good news. He's climbing out, and obviously gingerly, that is a huge hit. As you said, you hurt all over. It knocks the air out of you. Here's the replay.
Not super close. He's running third there to Aleshin and just loses the back end. And a massive front end impact. Luckily, the safer barrier's there.
And that's the thing that's so important. You think about all of the improvements that have been made in safety over the years, and that safer barrier is one of the most important ones.
And that's Scott Dixon deciding to top up. Smart decision. You're at the back of the field. We're 4 laps in, and theoretically, if you can run lean at this point, he might be able to make it on just 5 more stops.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, if you think back to Phoenix, he had just a devil of a start there, and here's the green flag. Right on board.
Go inside.
Watching Hunter-Reay go high. Wow, look at this. Everything's opened up in front of him. He knows that track is clean overnight from the rain. No debris up there. And he gets a nice big run down the backstretch following Kimball there and Hawksworth. Excellent job. We saw him do the same thing at Phoenix earlier this year when he also started further back.
14th at this point in time.
22nd to 14th. Johnny Rutherford used to say, the three-time Indy winner, he used to say, guess what? They all slow down and pack up going into one at Indy. I'm going to stay high. That's exactly what he did.
You ride with Ryan Hunter-Reay, and you're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Bobby Rahal Honda of State College. Visit us at BobbyRahal.com for all your automotive needs in Pennsylvania.
Under caution for Takuma Sato's crash in the early stages here at Pocono. At the back of the field, you see Scott Dixon. We saw him pit with a closed pit. That's because he had a puncture of the left front. So the only penalty is he goes to the back of the field. There you take a look at that Firestone. He's going to come in with everyone else and top off. But again, no big penalty for Dixon because he was already running at the back, Brian.
And you can understand how that puncture happened with Takuma Sato's crash. It looked like an explosion of that ABC supply. Honda?
It always is. Sato probably trying to get a good run coming off of 3 to catch Aloshin in the draft, but car just gets away from him big time. And as you said, Brian, that is a massive impact. And I can see the photographers diving for cover outside the fence. And I wonder if the safer barrier actually took some damage as well. On board now with Hinchcliffe.
Watch how fast it happens from the onboard.
Low, stay low.
Wow. Intense. Next weekend, going to be a massive weekend of racing on NBC. Take a look at this. NASCAR Xfinity from Road America, Pro Motocross. You got the Mecum auctions from Monterey, and of course the Verizon IndyCar Series from Texas. That's on Saturday. Even more coming on Sunday. A great weekend of racing on the NBC family of networks. Pocono Raceway in the heart of the Poconos is absolutely beautiful around here, and they call it the Tricky Triangle. We've already seen it bite Takuma Sato in the race, others in practice on Saturday in the field behind the safety vehicle after Sato's crash in turn 3. Takuma Sato, no stranger to problems here. Go back to 2013.
This was Ryan Hunter-Reay entering pit lane, and then all of a sudden, whammo, Sato coming way, way too fast to the line. I believe Hunter-Reay said it was like getting hit from an airplane falling out of the sky. And today there were more big issues for Sato. Very early laps of this race.
Think about the Olympics. This is how it would line up if you looked at scores by country. France leads with 527 points based upon the highest finishing driver from each country, and that really is Simon Pagenaud up front. And then if you want to look at medals, though, the United States is ahead. Alexander Rossi, Josef Newgarden with their 2 wins. That would put us up front in the medal count. And now it's time to go back to racing. Talk about Josef Newgarden. He leads the field back to green.
And it's getting crazy back there in the middle of the pack as they fan out 6 wide. Here goes Aloshin making a move for the lead going into turn 1.
We saw Scott Dixon come to the pits, also Juan Pablo Montoya, Sebastian Bourdais, Pippa Mann also pitted in there, as did Max Chilton. And Aloshin to the point, and look at him move, trying to break the draft, but that's not going to happen. You're going to run in the draft all day long here at Pocono. Back and forth, leapfrogging now, Newgarden to the point.
See Newgarden just a little bit of a tail wiggle there going into 3. He probably was on his controls to make the pass on Aloshin, and then when you get out front and grab clean air for the first time, you really have to back out some of those adjustments as they come into 1. Here's Marco Andretti looking low on Hinchcliffe.
You talk about the adjustments inside the car. We also heard downshifts right there for James Hinchcliffe. What do they have to work with?
Well, you've got the tailwind, right? So you're going to shift into the tallest gear going down the front stretch and anticipate a headwind as you come out of turn 1, thus the double downshift. You can do that while you're flat on the throttle. They call it geese wall, downshift without lift. And it's a strange experience the first time you try it because, Robin, they never teach you to grab a gear while you're wide open at the throttle, especially going down in the gearbox.
That didn't sound like heel and toe. No.
Yeah, no. Not thinking it was. The other thing is you were talking about weight jackers and the ability to move weight across the car for handling.
Yeah, and again, all of these guys going into turn 1, right about here in the middle of the corner, they're going to experience understeer. They're running in traffic and they have the tailwind. But again, such a long first corner, 150 degrees. So when you come out now, you're running into the headwind down the backstretch. Ryan Hunter-Reay continues to make good progress all the way up to 11th after starting dead last, and he's got a great race car. Look at that, all over the back of Ed Carpenter. And there's the lead swap again at the front. So Aloshin and Newgarden, the American and the Russian, going back and forth.
Well, and that's really kind of what you want to do, right? You don't want to hold each other up. It's a 500-mile race. Get the draft, go by, and then do it again and let it just play out. Hunter-Reay there in that bright yellow DHL. See him to the inside. And then you ride on board with Simon Pagenaud.
And if I'm Simon Pagenaud, early on in a long 500-mile race, I just want to stay out of trouble, slowly work my way to the front, let my Penske pit crew do a lot of work for me on pit lane, and just find the balance of the car, save some fuel here, make high percentage decisions.
And when you're riding on board there with Simon Pagenaud, Townsend, you'll find it interesting. His issue with the car, as he goes down the front straightaway here, if we stay on board, watch him go into turn number 1. He said his car is super positive turning into turn number 1, and he has trouble with this line. Right when he peels off here, of course, this is in turbulent air, but in clean air, he says the car really is on the nose, as they call it, and it makes it very difficult for him to keep the line that he wants.
So we'll watch Pagenaud's pit stop to see if, in fact, they take out some front wing angle at the next opportunity.
Think about this racetrack. There are not a lot of tall buildings on the infield, so the wind really does come into play. It gets to the corners kind of unimpeded as Pagenaud looks to the inside of Carpenter. Nothing doing in turn 3. He needed to back out. That's going to cost him down the front straightaway. Aloshin still up front. Carlos Munoz now putting pressure on Newgarden. Looking for Juan Pablo Montoya. There he is in the black and blue, number 2 from Penske.
And that's Connor Daly looking very racy behind Montoya. Connor Daly still working through his first few oval races of this season and looking for a strong finish after the big wreck in Texas. There goes Dixon.
Scott Dixon flashes by in the red number 9, and talk about lost when they unloaded off the truck, and certainly when they went to qualifying, Robin. It was a very un-Ganassi-like performance.
There's been a couple un-Ganassi-like things this season. There's Rossi taking third. Is he taking third? He sure is.
Alexander Rossi in the black and white 98, your Indy 500 winner, moving up.
And it's his best start of his young IndyCar career. One thing that's different from him as he continues to learn is the wind. He said, yeah, I've been in wind before. Obviously, it was road courses, but I didn't really believe it was a big factor on ovals until I get to Indianapolis. And then I was shocked how much of an impact it can have. I had to learn all through that race. And he said, I'll be learning again today. Concerned, but he seems very unflappable. And obviously, he's hooked up here in the early going today.
And he is hooked up, and we were talking about it. This is a very open infield. The wind blows directly to the corners. The wind at Indy swirls around the grandstands and such. It makes it difficult. Take a look at the biggest movers. Ryan Hunter-Reay with that impressive start. 13, all the Andretti cars running well.
I think it speaks to the strength of the Andretti team on the super speedways. Obviously at Indianapolis, the winning team there, and I was part of that team, had very strong race cars the entire month. Pretty cool to see Alexander Rossi backing up that win that was, heavily strategy based with a really terrific drive. Look at him now. He's going to make a move on Newgarden if he gets a chance.
Yeah, it looks like the strategy today is just go to the front.
Townsend, you drove a Honda. Why is Honda good on big ovals like Indy and Pocono? Why do they struggle? Their engine seems to be just as good as Chevrolet, but they just struggle on the shorter tracks?
Well, I think they showed up at Indianapolis with a fresh specification. So they had made some revisions to their engine. They were producing more horsepower there, and it really paid off. Obviously, at these tracks, it's all high RPM, high power kind of situations. And with their aero kit, I think they've really found the right combination of bits, as we see Rossi put those bits to good advantage. Now you've got Honda 1-2.
Well, Jan?
And one of the reasons is Josef Newgarden was just on the radio saying, I have big understeer at exit. So right about this portion of the corner, the front of the car just not working the way Newgarden needs it to. So look at his first pit stop, most likely be adding some front wing. But as you said, those Hondas 1-2 now with Rossi and Aloshin are flying.
Thanks, Sean, because I was just going to ask the question. I was wondering if Newgarden was going to go into some type of fuel-saving mode right now and just kind of ride out this first stint, but he doesn't have a car that's working to his liking.
Yeah, I mean, if they add front wing, that'll certainly give him the grip. He's probably tapped out on the controls in the cockpit, moving the weight jacker, softening the front bar if he can. In some cases, guys will have a rear anti-roll bar hooked up, and you might stiffen that rear bar, help the car turn in the corner as well. And Alexander Rossi looking to be the class of the field in early stages here because he's closing on Mikhail Aloshin.
Just set the fastest lap of the race, did Alexander Rossi, at 215.2 miles per hour. So Rossi on a charge to the front.
And look at that yellow DHL car just looming in the background there with Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's up to 8th now. So the Andretti team looks to be the class of the field so far. Katie?
Early on, we saw Sato make contact with the wall here at Pocono. Takuma, it was a pretty hard hit. First of all, how are you feeling?
It was pretty hard, but thanks for the old safety of the IndyCar and the Pocono, put into that I was able to walk away and, a few bruises, but I'm totally fine.
What happened from your point of view?
I'm not sure. Obviously, the configuration we had is different from the evening we had the last practice, and we thought we needed more downforce because it's gusty wind. Condition was a little tricky, but I'm not sure what happened exactly. I went to the corner, turn 3, and it was just flipped over so quickly, and it just simply lost back end.
Guys, the wind down here is really strong. I think that's going to be a storyline all day.
I think you're right, Katie, and you never want to crash in an IndyCar, Robin, but we're late in the season and we're looking to next year and contracts and such.
Well, and plus, he didn't have any bruises now, but he hadn't seen AJ yet, so it's early in the day. Plus, it's just, Foyt really likes him. Foyt really likes him because he stands on the gas. That's why AJ says about him. He's had a lot of crashes. I still think he's going to be around next year on the Foyt team. I think they're going to make a change, but I think he's going to be there.
Well, talking about two guys that are in a contract phase, you've got Montoya being passed by Jack Hawksworth, Takuma Sato's teammate, and both of those guys, Robin, are a little unsure where their opportunity might sit for 2017. Now, Pagenaud trying to fend off Charlie Kimball here.
Pagenaud just not had the speed that he's wanted all weekend long, and Castroneves, his teammate, up in 6th right now. So that Penske car is running well. Will Power, who trails Pagenaud in the championship, up in 10th position right now. So Simon Pagenaud collect the points, make the most of it, and we've got a long way to go from here in Pocono, but you got to think that championship certainly on his mind. On the mind of Mikhail Aloshin is a win here. He's got his first pole in his IndyCar career. He'd like to take victory. You ride on board with last year's winner, Ryan Hunter-Reay. What can he do? Can he continue to move forward? Lewis Hamilton is looking for his 5th consecutive win this year, this time at Spa as he races for his 4th World Championship against rival teammate Nico Rosberg. The Belgian Grand Prix, Sunday morning, 7 Eastern, here on NBCSN. Mikhail Aloshin leads here at the Indy Pocono 500. Right behind him, Indianapolis 500 winner Alexander Rossi. Honda's up front, and you too can run up front in a Verizon IndyCar Series race in a Honda. You can be a part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. All you have to do is go to racewithhonda.com to sign up and enter for your chance to lead the start of an IndyCar Series race in the Honda 2-seater driven by an Indy 500 champion. Speaking of another Honda that's putting on a good show, Ryan Hunter-Reay was awesome on the initial start, and that's Helio Castroneves. Goodbye.
And why is Castroneves so slow off of turn 3? Well, he got checked up with James Hinchcliffe during the break, and Hinchcliffe was pretty defensive heading down the backstretch into turn 2, but Hunter-Reay takes full advantage of that, continues his charge, and now there's James Hinchcliffe, his next victim in the sights.
And he has closed the gap to Hinchcliffe considerably. The draft, a part of that. See if Hinchcliffe is as defensive. No. And you got to wonder if he wasn't showing his frustration or his anger with Castroneves. They had run pretty close before. Castroneves taking some air off the front of Hinchcliffe, so maybe payback.
Well, right now, that backup car for Ryan Hunter-Reay is looking pretty nice at the moment. Now, next up for Hunter-Reay is Carlos Munoz, his teammate.
And I can tell you the report for that new chassis for Ryan Hunter-Reay is when he goes into the corners here, his initial feedback is, guys, I can lean on it. I have something I can lean on. They use that terminology a lot, that when the car is getting into the track, that's what they want. So Ryan Hunter-Reay has found the settings, and when you have a car you can lean on, no pun intended, you're going to be fast today.
Well, Jan, everybody at home can understand that. They may not understand it with a car, but think back to your high school sports, your little league sports, your recent golf outing, when you hit that good shot, when you made that good play, and you know how special it felt. That's exactly what Ryan Hunter-Reay is feeling right now in his car. Every time he goes through turn one, it feels special.
Tab, thanks. We see you're struggling up through your pit. How's the car? Car seems to be okay, just pushing off a floor or green. Looks like everybody is bad though.
So everybody with a little bit of understeer, a little bit of push off turn three. Ryan Hunter-Reay just continues to charge forward.
Well, you got to think he won the race last year. He's comfortable. He had a great test here. That was what was so surprising when he crashed. It was like he couldn't believe that he crashed that early in the session, even though he had a qual sim going on down.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan has so much experience now on these ovals, and you know, he had such a strong car at Indianapolis. Both of us did. We ended up in a disastrous situation on pit lane, but Hunter-Reay's put it to good use.
Out. Either 2 or 3 away.
So I believe that's Hunter-Reay's engineer, Ray Gosselin, saying we're going to take 2 clicks out, probably of the front wing. And you can see Ryan, it's either the radio button or his weight jacker. I think that's his weight jacker. So he's putting a little bit of left front weight, trying to make a little more headway on the 3 cars in front of him. But here it comes to pit lane.
And he's going to carry big speed past the attenuator. The pit lane speed limit doesn't start until right there. Long run down the pit lane here at Pocono. It's a long front straightaway, so it's a long pit lane as he heads in, Jan.
Yes, and you talked about moving that weight jacker. We're going to watch the front of the car. They're deciding whether they might go with a half a turn of front wing. They were talking amongst the radio, and they decide to do just that. Ryan Hunter-Reay, nice quick stop, 8.5 seconds. Soon we'll see the rest of the leaders peeling, but right now, using a lot of fuel, a lot of Sunoco, may not be an issue. And we saw Carpenter leaving pit road as well.
And Mikhail Aloshin's coming in at the top of the screen. That's your leader. It's Aloshin, Munoz, and I believe James Hinchcliffe, the 3rd car in line, as the leaders now come into the pits.
Shouldn't be a surprise that Mikhail Aloshin has been strong here. He has taken to the ovals. He loves them. He has a knack for it. He pits from the lead here. He's going to take 4 Firestones. Sunoco fuel. He had an easy end because Dixon wasn't coming in at this point. Aloshin back out, Katie.
Carlos Munoz just pitted from the 4th position. The team encouraging to hang out in the top 5 all day, and they'll go for it the last 50 laps, and he is doing just that. Just a tire pressure adjustment for him as they all exit pit lane and cycle back out. Brian.
And you see James Hinchcliffe coming out as well. Marco Andretti. There's Ryan Hunter-Reay on the left in that bright yellow DHL entry from Andretti Autosport, who has been running so incredibly well. Now Alexander Rossi leads the next train down the pit lane.
And he led his first laps at speed. He wasn't saving fuel.
And this is where it's so difficult for the drivers to come in under green, as we see Tony Kanaan on pit lane, Jan.
Josef Newgarden finishing his service, and they go for a full turn, a front wing for Josef Newgarden, and Rossi beats him to the line.
I was going to say, so difficult right here. You come in hot after going 225 miles an hour on the track. You've got to slow down. The cars are set up asymmetrically, and now you're on cold tires, and you're going to rejoin the field as your leader, Aloshin, now battling out. All of this is for position right now on the racetrack. Hunter-Reay's now in the mix.
Hunter-Reay in the mix. You see the 98, the black and white 98 of Rossi in there as well. And you talk about cold tires, you come right out onto the racetrack, right into turn 1. And we saw that be a problem for Juan Pablo Montoya in practice, so you've got to be so careful, especially how cool it is.
And it looks like they're going with a set of scrub tires for Will Power. And they have a little bit of slow. It takes them a little bit longer for the front wing. They went for the center and then also the side, giving more downforce for the front of Power.
Up there at the top of the screen, Graham Rahal, Charlie Kimball also in. Things mixing up on pit lane. It'll get settled back on the racetrack.
And guys, Ryan Hunter-Reay is now about to take the lead from last place after a practice crash. He is all over the back of the 7 of Aloshin. What a drive from Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Interesting to see. Simon Pagenaud up to third. Dixon, Bourdais, Montoya. It'll all cycle through.
And for Simon Pagenaud, what they're going to try and do is they tried to add overall downforce. From when I looked at these cars when they left pit road, he had the lightest downforce of any of the Penske team. So they're trying to get that dialed back up because obviously he's got a lot of ground to make up.
You can really see the left-hand picture there with Aloshin and Hunter-Reay both still bottoming heavily. Once you add the fuel, that lowers the ride height of the car. You've got low tire pressures. Dixon now coming to the pits.
And he was the leader, but he was out of sequence. Remember, he had to come in for the puncture early and pitted on lap 7. So we'll see where he comes back in. Service for the Target Chip Ganassi team, and a little bit longer than they would like. This is taking a while, and Dixon is back out, losing precious track position.
10 seconds as the leaders flash by. That's how long the stop was for Dixon. Now Bourdais, Montoya up front. They too are out of sequence on the stops. They elected to stop early. So they're a little bit out of sequence. Once they come in, that would be the battle for the lead right there. Aloshin in front of Ryan Hunter-Reay once we see Bourdais and Montoya come to the pit. Ryan Hunter-Reay, that car absolutely magic today. And now Bourdais comes to the pits.
Sebastian Bourdais was able to stretch a little bit longer on fuel than everyone else when he pitted earlier.
Let's go.
The yellow, he was also able to lead just a few laps, recovering from an 18th starting position.
Wow, that was close. You saw Montoya and Bourdais almost get together.
And Montoya has been wanting to pit before pit sequences began. He had fallen back to 19th. He said, give me as much wing as you can. And look at that, they cranked on that thing 3 or 4 times. Montoya is back out.
And that's kind of scary when you put that much front wing in because you don't know what you're going to have on the racetrack. Ryan Hunter-Reay knows what he has. 28 really putting the pressure right now on the 7 of Aloshin.
You saw that Ryan Hunter-Reay's team had taken 1/4 of a turn of wing out on that previous stop, so he's going to reset his mechanical controls for that new aerodynamic feeling and see what he can do. But now he's got his teammates coming from behind. That's Munoz. Newgarden's followed by the other Andretti teammate with Rossi, and they're all coming hard.
Powerful move by Newgarden to get past Munoz, uses the draft down the front straightaway. Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to get the handle back on that number 28, take the fight to Aloshin.
Let's see if Hunter-Reay gives a little maybe baby lift here to stay close and two,
It's
but not run
impossible
up.
with the map we're in, if you want me to stay where we are.
Got it. So Ryan Hunter-Reay's talking
Try going
about
to wheel 3 and try getting that.
talking about engine mapping. So he's saying, listen, I don't think I can make a run on him in this engine map. That map is designed to save fuel, run a little bit lean, and also protect the engine. So they'll be asking Hunter-Reay maybe to try an advanced setting on the wheel, but then quickly go back to preserve if he can catch the lead. If not, he'll save everything he has engine-wise for the end of the race.
Closing now towards turn 2. That's a difficult place to get it done. And it's a shorter run, a shorter straightaway between 2 and 3.
Now he's a little closer, and I think he made the adjustment on the steering wheel, so he's going to try to ramp up the engine power and the timing, see if he can get a good run here coming off of turn 3. It doesn't look like he's close enough there.
Mikhail Aloshin with a good run into 3. Meanwhile, it's Josef Newgarden closing on Ryan Hunter-Reay. That's just the nature. Just the nature of this racetrack. The tricky triangle, Pocono. 500 miles, 200 laps. Right now, Mikhail Aloshin and Honda out in front. Will they be there at the end? Mikhail Aloshin still up front. Ryan Hunter-Reay not able to do anything with him, and it looks like Josef Newgarden has backed off a little bit from Ryan Hunter-Reay, and what an impressive job by Mikhail Aloshin really all season long. He ran so well at Mid-Ohio. Good to see him back in the Verizon IndyCar Series full-time in 2016. Time in sports cars last year as they come up on lap traffic, closing in on Pippa Mann.
And we heard that radio conversation about engine maps and saving fuel for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Remember, he was the first one of the leaders to hit pit road. When you do that, then you kind of get yourself in a circumstance where you need to save fuel. You want to be sure you're not off of sequence of those around you. So, job for Ryan Hunter right now, save some of that Sunoco fuel. Katie?
If you look up and down pit lane, Jan, you can see the radio mast waving in the wind. That's also something that the drivers are complaining about. They're getting a huge tailwind going into turn 3, and that's really upsetting a lot of the cars, and they're not able to quite figure out what adjustments to make when they come in for the pit stops in order to make their cars happy.
Michael Aloshin gets past Pippa Mann on the entrance to turn 3 and kind of hangs up Ryan Hunter-Reay just a little bit. That's going to give Aloshin some breathing room.
All of these guys in the top 5 going to be trying to time this pass around Pippa Mann, try not to lose too much track position. Very difficult down in turn 1 because everybody, including Mann, wants to stay low in the groove. Now there goes Munoz. Munoz going to take a look maybe on Newgarden as they come through turn 2. And now Newgarden has to make up the gap to Hunter-Reay.
Alexander Rossi now works past Mann and brings James Hinchcliffe, or tries to. Hinchcliffe looks down low, and the problem with that is you get that arrow wash, and you saw the effect.
Well, you see that all of a sudden Pippa Mann comes down to the low line to try to stay in that groove, and that forced Hinchcliffe to lift, and here comes Castroneves up the inside.
And they have not had a very friendly relationship today.
That was close. I'm sure Hinchcliffe is thinking, man, I got to turn in for this corner. Start turning. And Castroneves, wanting to deal with that wind transition in turn 1, was trying to turn in as late as possible into the corner. Probably not that concerned about Hinchcliffe on the outside.
Now Ryan Hunter-Reay right back up on Michael Aloshin. Talked about Castroneves earlier today. He and Hinchcliffe had a little bit of a tussle, and James showing his frustration with that a little while earlier with a pretty aggressive move, and now Castroneves answers back. Talk about great to see Michael Aloshin back in the series full time, and he's certainly come back strong, because in 2014 Auto Club Speedway,
he got below the white line and a huge crash, spun up the track. That's Charlie Kimball that also suffered a massive impact. And remember, on a banked track, when you get down below that white line on the apron, you are moving crossweight on your car in a very bad way. And Michael Aloshin recovered nicely. Obviously, his runner Ryan Hunter-Reay now takes the lead. What a drive Ryan Hunter-Reay's had. But Robin, you followed the adventures of Michael Aloshin. Let's watch the pass first. Nice run off turn 1 where Hunter-Reay's been very strong. And pretty easy down the backstretch. Wow. Robin, talk about Aloshin's recovery, though, over the last 18 months.
I spent a little time with him in the Toronto airport during one of our flight delays this year, and he said if it wasn't for the Homontra safety crew, he wouldn't be here. He said they saved my life on the track, so you got to think about that. We've had guys, Alex Zanardi's life was saved, James Hinchcliffe was saved last May by the Homontra safety team, and Aloshin said, I owe them my life because I would not be here without them. And he's just got such a great attitude, and he really likes ovals because obviously he likes the throttle, and if you saw him qualify at Indy this year when he was sideways going through turn 1, it was a sight to behold. I just think his spirit kind of reminds me of Montoya when he showed up here. He's kind of got that I just want to go fast attitude all the time.
Very personable guy is Michael Aloshin right now. Carlos Munoz coming up on the back of him as Ryan Hunter-Reay leads, and the next car they're going to have to deal with is Connor Daly.
You know, and I'm seeing a trend right now during the second half of this stint, the second half of the tire life, as Hunter-Reay really starting to exercise his advantage, and also Munoz and Alexander Rossi, teammates to Hunter-Reay, their cars also starting to come on strong here, so that bodes well for the end of this thing.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, a winner here, a winner at the Indianapolis 500. Can he repeat this year? If you want to qualify for the chase, you're running out of time and the pressure is on, but a win will secure an in. It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing from Michigan, Sunday, 1:30 Eastern on NBCSN. Ryan Hunter-Reay out in front of Michael Aloshin, and that's not how you're going to save fuel. You've got to punch all the air out of the way for everybody behind you. Kevin?
And he may not given up the lead just because he wanted to save fuel. He is starting to deal with a little bit of a vibration as they get longer into this tire stint. But as far as ovals, as a European driver, as we see Aloshin go down below, and he is going to retake the lead. Maybe Hunter Ray wants to save a little bit of fuel. He hadn't done ovals before he got here, but he takes to them immediately, so he loves it. It's 2 times as fast, 2 times as far as the thinking skills, and it's the way racing should feel. Mikhail Aloshin is loving it up front today.
Well, he should be, because that car's running so well. I do wonder if Ryan just said, look, we can't save any fuel out front. We need to run behind somebody.
Well, it'd be the first chance for Ryan Hunter-Reay's team to get a sense of the fuel burn once he took the lead. Maybe they looked at the fuel numbers. Remember, Hunter-Reay was the first to pit out of this lead pack, so they might have looked at the data and said, you know what, it's just not efficient enough. As you see Newgarden get by Rossi, it was getting pretty contentious between those two earlier, and here comes Carlos Munoz, easily passing Hunter-Reay there, going into 3.
It's almost like Ryan let that happen, but you talk about that Rossi-Newgarden thing. It was pretty ugly there a lap or so ago, and now it's Ed Carpenter is slow.
Not good for Ed Carpenter. He's just had such a poor run this year.
Started losing revs and then just tied up. I mean, it felt like it was seizing.
That would be the engine he's referring to. He had an issue at Indianapolis, I believe, in the powertrain. Things didn't go too well at Texas either. Let's see if we see any smoke or anything. Yep, little puff. And
when you're coming up behind him and you see that telltale smoke, that's not what you want to see, because that means there's fluid.
Where there's smoke, there's oil.
That's exactly right. Carpenter makes it to the pit lane, and that is good. You've got to be a little bit concerned about the racetrack, although he immediately moved offline, got down to the apron, and got to the pit end. It's down on the inside, that inside lane, and that is good news for the guys out on the racetrack. Josef Newgarden, though, charging forward. He's 4th in that green number 21 Fuzzy's entry, the car right behind Ryan Hunter-Reay.
And Ed is furious, Rob. He's had the worst luck this year.
Well, I just think, you know, you look at Josef. Josef just taken over that team in the last 2 years. He's been the guy to beat even on the ovals. And Ed was one of the 3 guys to always beat just a couple years ago. So I think that's his frustration, especially when you're only running half the races like he is.
You know, it takes the edge off that Ed is the team owner. So as well as Josef's doing, I know he's super proud of his Ed Carpenter Racing team and the cars that they put on the track for Josef Newgarden that have allowed him to get to 4th in the championship battle and be a contender again here today.
He's 4th on the racetrack with Alexander Rossi breathing down his neck. But you talk about the silly season, Newgarden driving with Ed Carpenter. Is Newgarden going to be driving in that familiar green car next year with the 21 on the side of it, Robert?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Marshall Pruitt of Racer Magazine did a story the other day, and Tim Cindric said we're going to have 4 cars next year. Everything's just the way it's going to be. He didn't say we're going to have the same 4 drivers. I think Juan thinks maybe he's the odd man out. So we're all thinking, okay, Newgarden's going to be with Penske. But then we hear today Ganassi's interested in him. So if Josef Newgarden has a decision to make, you know, who would it be? Who would you guys take? Would you go Chip or would you go to Penske?
Well, if I'm Ed Carpenter, I'd figure out a way to get him a big check, because there's nothing wrong with the race team. They're performing at the same level or better often than Penske and the Ganassi team. So as long as you're not giving up a big pile of money, why leave?
Expect to see Carlos Munoz in this lap. That was his radio that you heard, the 28 of Ryan Hunter-Reay, getting prepared for a pit stop as well as they work their way past Pippa Mann. Now Hunter-Reay right up on Munoz, and Munoz closes in on Aloshin.
Hunter-Reay should be the first one to come in, and there he comes along. Oh, all three of them. This should be interesting. Aloshin coming in way hot. I wonder if he's going to get down to speed. It looks like it.
So the top 3 coming in. It's Aloshin, Munoz, and then Hunter-Reay. Aloshin is about middle of pit lane as we see Munoz pull in first. Aloshin a little bit further ahead, and then Hunter-Reay will go up to the front. They have a vibration, but they're not planning any changes. A little slow getting on the tires this time for Aloshin. Still a pretty good stop. Katie?
This is the most confidence Carlos Munoz has had since the Indianapolis 500. He's looking for revenge after that heartbreaker of a 2nd place finish in Indy, Jan.
And you can see that drag race coming off of the pit lane. Ryan Hunter-Reay was able to leapfrog his teammate Carlos Munoz, and the most important thing, guys, they all stopped on the same lap, meaning that Ryan Hunter-Reay did his job. He got 1 extra lap by saving fuel. Now he's on the same sequence.
And That is big. Alexander Rossi leads the field. There he flashes by in the black and white, number 98 right behind him, Josef Newgarden. And then Helio Castroneves up to third for Penske.
And Alexander Rossi currently the race leader. Now Rossi's about to pit. It's going to be a huge demand on Alexander Rossi to come to pit lane as quickly as possible, break at the last possible second, and get out with thunder. And that'll be the race on the track to see if that first group that pits can gain on Rossi while he's making his stop.
Pit lane wall extended considerably, and you can carry good speed past the end of it right there. There are the cones that mark the pit lane speed limit that they have to get down to, 60 miles an hour.
Stop number 2 for the Indianapolis 500 champion, Alexander Rossi. He had a fairly clean intro. They're not planning on any changes this time. The car has been good. He's out, Jan.
And while he's leaving, we're having to, there's a big change on the front for Josef Newgarden. And look out.
Huge crash on pit lane. That's Rossi, Kimball, Castroneves. And one car was in the air, well on top of the other.
Alexander Rossi, the Indianapolis 500 champ, had run up front here, had been leading here. A problem. Castroneves involved, Charlie Kimball involved, and I don't know if Kimball's car is damaged or not. Castroneves out of his number 3.
And Kimball, I can see, desperately waving for his crew to come get him. He probably is stalled, but he thinks his car's all right to get restarted.
And I can tell you, Townsend, it's still running. That's why he wants to get pushed back, because of the 3 cars, Kimball's car is still fired up.
Wait till you see the altitude one of these cars got.
Oh, I just saw it in the corner of my eye. There was one literally on top of the other.
Caution is out. Take a look. Top of the screen, you see Rossi coming out of his pit stall. He gets together with Kimball. Oh! What a terrifying moment for Helio Castroneves. The left front wheel, the suspension coming in and over the cockpit.
This is 2 races in a row. We saw this problem with Aloshin and Newgarden at Mid-Ohio. And it's, you know, your race leader, I know the feeling. I'm feeling like I'm in Indianapolis again, where you really can't see anything. You rely on your team to give you air traffic control as Kanan negotiates the carnage. Pit lane's so wide though here, Robin. It's not like Indianapolis. There's a lot of room.
Well, and the other thing is in your case, you trust your guy to tell you they're sending you.
Scary, scary for Helio Castroneves when we saw that tire come close to the cockpit. He climbed out just so they could get the car fixed and back to normal as quickly as possible. So he's getting strapped back in now while the crew takes a look at the rest of the car to make sure it is as good as it can be to go. But he's going to lose a lap here. We also saw Alexander Rossi out of his car walking back to his pit stall.
Can't believe that there wouldn't be radiator damage on the right side after that big hit, but the side of the tubs being so high now is what's good.
And there you can see the 2 Penske teammates giving each other room for certain. Will Power's been really struggling with his car in traffic, so they're going to make aerodynamic changes. He's able to get out ahead of his teammate. Everyone else scrambling now. Simon Pagenaud still not making up the kind of ground that he needs to.
Just a scary moment. You think about these high-speed super speedways and you think that the danger lurks out on the racetrack, but pit lane can be just as intense.
It's like Townsend said, though, look, it's so much wider than Indy, and you're still at the mercy of the guy that sent you.
So Rossi comes out, and here comes Kimball. Car gets up in the air, and you see that left front just right over the cockpit.
Yeah. And as much as Rossi's relying on his spotter information, so is Kimball as he's trying to come to his box. So it happens. You hate to see it, but terrible for Rossi having such a good run.
From the other angle.
Go, go, go. Car right, car right, car right, car right, car right, car right.
That's Brian Herta trying to get the information out, but so if there's a car right, I'm not sure where Rossi was going to go because he had Castroneves right in front of him.
Just frightening moments on pit lane. Alexander Rossi standing there looking at the board. talking to Brian Herta. I'm sure they're talking about the message that he delivered, saying, I was trying to tell you.
Yeah, and you know, Charlie Kimball, I'm sure, as he was starting to peel into the pits, he was expecting that Rossi was probably going to lift, or they was going to have the information to back out just a bit. But you know, the race is oftentimes on pit lane, and here's the thing about Castroneves: to fix a car on pit lane like this and then send them back out on a high-speed oval, boy, you really, as the driver, you want to know that you've got something underneath you, as sensitive as these cars are. Kevin?
Alex, what happened from your perspective?
I mean, I was released. I was still in the slow lane, and yeah, Kimball was coming out of the from the fast lane into his box. You know, I was still in my lane, so we had to look at it again. But
Here, you're going to see it one more time.
Yeah, no, I know what happened. I mean, I was still in the slow lane, and then there's a car there because I had to. Yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate. But
Not a high-speed crash, but how scary is that ride when you got up in the air like that?
I mean, I was concerned about Elio. Some guys, all right.
Thank you.
Ooh, man, the way that left front tire came down on the top of the tub, that really looked bad. I'm so glad that Elio.
I remember
okay.
the conversations we were having this morning. We were looking back on cars from the past and how low the sides of the tubs were, and it was a great example of, with modern design, how tall you see the head protection around the driver.
Well, and look at the damage right here on the mirror. The mirror's gone. That's the mirror stock. So that's, and look at the black tire mark right there next to Castroneves' head. It's a hot topic right now, not only in the IndyCar series, but also in Formula One, where they've been developing a halo or a windscreen, some sort of shroud to protect the driver's head. Jan?
And Townsend, you know, when we were in the drivers' meeting, which would have been, of course, yesterday morning, one of the things that they reminded the drivers, especially after Mikhail Aloshin's contact on pit lane at Mid-Ohio, the last race, know your neighbors. And when you send a car, you can send a car when they're in the fast lane, unless it's someone who's pitted next to a neighbor like Charlie Kimball. That's what you have to be careful of.
You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. We'll be right back to Pocono. Great to see crowd on hand on a Monday afternoon for a Verizon IndyCar Series race. The Indy Pocono 500. And if you needed a note to miss work or maybe even school today, Pocono Raceway tweeted this out this morning. You just print that off and take it to your boss. Do you think that would work?
Looks like something I would have written for myself back in school.
You had an entire tablet of those made, probably. Right now, Mikhail Aloshin out in front. Interesting to note, Will Power led during that caution. That means bonus points, and bonus points important in the championship for Elio Castroneves. This is going to seriously hurt his championship points. He was third coming in here, but look at the tire mark on the side of the tub. That's why it's so scary.
And here's Alexander Rossi. He's going to launch out of his pits, and as Rossi said, he said, you know, my job's to launch and stay in the slow lane. He just doesn't see Kimball coming, and it's not easy to see, Robin, because as low as you sit in an IndyCar, your eye level is really at the top of the tub, and you cannot see 90 degrees to your left or right. You might be able to see 45 degrees, but Kimball was basically wheel to wheel with Rossi.
And Townsend, one thing interesting is we talked about knowing your neighbors. You may have noticed there was actually 7 pit boxes between the two, but it was the crossover point. So you had Alexander Rossi making his way out, crossing over maybe that 3.5 pit boxes right as you saw Charlie Kimball headed for his tires that were laid out. So that crossover point, you've got to know if you're someone who's sending cars.
Well, Mikhail Aloshin right now going to bring the field back to green. Honda power up front in the hands of Aloshin. Ryan Hunter-Reay with Honda right behind him. Then Josef Newgarden.
Get ready, green, green, green.
Green, green, green. We're racing again at Pocono. And wait for the fan. You can see the conga line. Everybody trying to stay in the draft, get a little toe, and then pop.
Looking back, everything kind of holds steady in the top 5. There's Hinchcliffe making a move on Kanaan down low.
Tony Kanaan saying in that break he felt a little exposed to the Hondas on the restart. And Honda's up front. Munoz gets past Josef Newgarden. It makes it Honda's 1, 2, 3 on board with TK.
Oh, someone made a late pass there. That's Graham Rahal. Wow, on Marco Andretti. That's as late as you can possibly leave it. Going into turn 2. And that'll wake you up if you're Marco Andretti.
Oh, and look at Newgarden on Munoz down into 1. That was late as well.
Just when we think guys are going to just ride around and settle in, Robin Miller, it's getting real.
Do they know it's lap 72, not 172?
On board with Tony Kanad, just in front. Munoz has to still be trying to catch his breath from that move that Newgarden put on.
You heard Kanad, he lifted early to get back on the throttle early. Looks like he has a good handling race car. Let's see if he can make a run on Munoz on this long front straightaway.
On board, Graham Rahal as you watch the live action over on the right. Woo!
Still there, clear.
Sometimes these spotters are not talking with the same anxiety that the drivers are experiencing.
Right now, Josef Newgarden in third with the draft on Ryan Hunter-Reay. What can he do? Hunter-Reay moves to look on Aloshin. Nothing doing there, and Newgarden with a little breathe. Time to go and see if he can get a run down the front straightaway. There's your Chevy driver.
It's going to be hard to hold the floodgates here.
I believe that was Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Yeah.
Not sure quite what he's referring to, holding the floodgates. I suppose that's the big pack coming behind him.
Well, and if Aloshin gets a little bit in front of him, if he gets Munoz and Newgarden together, they may be able to work on him. Two cars are going to run a little bit quicker than one. He's on board at the restart.
Whoa! Well, that's 3 cars trying to occupy one space, and who's going to lift first? Generally the guy leading the championship who knows I have to finish, I need to score good points, don't wreck early.
I believe that was 3 Penske cars.
Yes, it was. And I believe they sorted themselves out in the order of championship priority.
Yep, I would say so. Right now, Simon Pagenaud knows that Castroneves has had problems, so third place now in the points suffering. It's rapidly becoming a 2-horse race, really, with Pagenaud and Will Power. And as I said, Will Power picked up a bonus point for leading during that caution. Bonus points are going to be imperative. Right now, Simon Pagenaud has 12 more bonus points, or coming in, he had 12 more bonus points than Will Power, and now he's got 11. Look at Firestone telemetry. Watch the speed down the front straightaway. It'd be considerably higher if it was in the draft. You watch it on Verizon streaming as well. Well over 222 miles an hour. Such a different racetrack, all 3 corners. You talked about it, 14 degrees of banking in turn 1, 8 in turn 2, 6 in turn 3. Trying to get your car to work around all 3 of them is the challenge.
You know what's impressive, boys? There's not 33 cars out there, there's 18. Now, this is a 500-mile race. I want you to look how close it is and how good the racing is. It's unbelievable.
Great point, Robin, and I know you were sitting over there chuckling watching it a minute ago. I mean, you're as much of a fan as you are a broadcaster, and this is great racing from here at Pocono.
Well, and we all talk about, gosh, we want cars to look different and want them to sound better and throatier and 1,000 horsepower, and we do want all that, but I'm not sure we ever want to replace this kind of racing because it's pretty phenomenal to sit here and watch.
Well, I think in the old days you'd see a good car lead, pull away, open up a big gap. Oftentimes third place would be a lap down, not like Ryan Hunter-Reay, half a second down from the leader as he sits right here. And this style of racing, with all of the aerodynamic bits on these cars, it is very efficient in terms of producing downforce, but it also punches a big hole in the air. And what that does is it allows all of these trailing cars, even if they're not handling as well, to stay close to the draft, save a little fuel, and kind of get sucked along.
And the amazing thing for Mikhail Aloshin is that he seems to be able to run up front, like you said, and be efficient enough to stay on the same. You can see the pit windows here highlighted on what is coming up next. So we're in that, and we can see that move past Josef Newgarden by Ryan Hunter-Reay. Again, they have air to work with there that's being broken at the moment by Mikhail Aloshin. But Townsend, impressive to me. Sometimes when you're leading, you're stopping 1 or 2 laps ahead of everyone else. Mikhail Aloshin is not. He can lead and somehow make fuel numbers.
That mileage is great, but I think the job that Aloshin is doing behind the wheel is just terrific. He was so strong at Mid-Ohio, and he's really just started to figure out how to lead these IndyCar races, doing it 2 races in a row, and he looks so confident at the front. You don't see him weaving and bobbing. He's right where he wants to be.
Schmidt-Peterson Honda's first and 6th. Aloshin leads. James Hinchcliffe is in 6th. Ryan Hunter-Reay, though, in 2nd, trying to take his Honda-powered car to the front. Great racing from Pocono. Getting this track to dry right now, incredibly difficult. The crew's out to work, trying to get this track ready to go.
Check out the drivers. Going to sign some autographs for the fans.
The race will have to be postponed until tomorrow. They're looking for green. We're racing in Texas.
Here comes Ryan Hunter-Reay, hanging on right in the cushion.
Huge crash on the front straightaway. Looks like Connor Daly and Josef Newgarden. The red flag now being displayed as you see the raindrops beginning to fall.
We start the race from where we stopped, so we'll come back and run the race from that point. So we're looking forward to coming back August 27th.
And it's going to be a great day of racing as the IndyCar Series returns to Texas, but all next weekend is going to be great racing on NBCSN. Take a look at that. Xfinity Series, Mecum Auctions, the Verizon IndyCar Series, of course. Throw in some motocross. And then Sunday, you got more racing to watch. The Belgian Grand Prix in the morning, Sprint Cup in the afternoon, and then Global Rallycross at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Should be good stuff. It has been fantastic here since the drop of the green, and that man, Mikhail Aloshin, from the pole, has been up front for most of the day. And we talked about how impressed we were with him, but really the whole Schmidt-Peterson team has been good since they unloaded off the trucks. Honda seemed to be so strong on the superspeedways as well.
Well, obviously the Schmidt team was very strong in Indianapolis, as was Honda and the Andretti team, and that's repeating straight up here at Pocono. And now you see the field start to spread out a little bit as the tire wear comes into play. The total percentage of grip is more determined by aerodynamics than mechanical grip, and as that tire wear fades, the gap can open up. This is where I thought the Andretti cars were starting to come on strong in the previous stint as we get about 10 laps out from our next round of pit stops.
10 laps out will be about 5 laps short of halfway. Hunter-Reay now with the draft, and this is what we've seen.
And there he's given up on it.
I don't think
had
he
a
wants
run.
to run.
He does not want to lead. He wants to save fuel, save his engine, and he is perfectly content to just sit here and ride right now. But while you're riding, if you will, you're not. You're still driving the heck out of it to stay this close, but you're also trying to gauge your tools. By that I mean the roll bars, the weight jacker. What are going to be the right settings at the end of this race when undoubtedly I'm going to have to contend with other cars around me? What's going to be the key combination to take me to the front at the checkered flag?
How far back can he drop and still get a good enough tow to be drawn back up and still save fuel?
Well, I think he's answering our question right there. Didn't take much, only half a lap for him to make up 3 or 4 car legs.
Oh, Ryan Hunter-Reay with just a little bit of bobble in the middle of the corner. We saw the problem for Helio Castroneves there on pit lane. Kevin, what do you know?
They could get the car repaired and back out to turn some laps. We saw them back in the garage area, but already 22 laps down. Roger Penske was just on the radio talking to the engineer, Jonathan Duguid. I don't think it makes any sense to take the chance this far down. Let's go ahead and just keep it in the barn for the rest of the day.
Well, unfortunately for Castroneves, as the cars run right now, if they were to finish in this order, he would fall from 3rd to 5th in the championship. That would move Newgarden up to 3rd. So really tough result for Castroneves. Absolutely no fault of his own on pit lane.
You're right on board with Tony Kanaan, who's not only in front of Castroneves on the racetrack, but he would be in front of him as well. Tony Kanaan came in 5th in points, so he would move forward as Castroneves falls down the order with the problem here. You think about taking a damaged car back on the racetrack, 10 thousandths of an inch, 20 thousandths of an inch, 50 thousandths of an inch on ride height, rake, all that kind of stuff. You can't get the car back to those parameters after a big hit like that, and putting it out there, I think, is just folly.
Well, if any team is capable of coming close, it's going to be Team Penske. But you're absolutely right, Brian. These cars are way too sensitive to suffer that kind of impact in multiple areas of the race car and not be the same.
Robin Miller, you got a smile on your face.
I'm just thinking about with 3 laps to go, and Hunter-Reay gets through one so well and makes this run, so he's just kind of practicing setting him up, just looks like to me.
Well, we're just a few laps away from the next round of pit stops, and I think everybody's going to be thinking about the drama that happened earlier on pit lane and trying to minimize that potential, as well as trying to maximize their ability to spend the least amount of time in between the lines on pit lane.
So listen in on the 28.
He's got to go now. He's so close. There he goes.
Hard to back off at that point in time. And if you're going to pit at the same spot at the same time, that's what you did the last time. Now you've got the lead onto pit lane. So maybe that's the strategy. Run behind him, save fuel, and then a lap or two before you come in, get in front and try to lead onto the pit.
I mean, frankly, it really doesn't matter much at this stage in the race. As long as you stay in the top 3 or 4, we're not even at half distance yet. And let's look at the pit strategies so far. Everybody pretty close there. Newgarden and Kanaan went the furthest. They last pit 26 laps ago. So we should see the next 2 or 3 laps guys start to peel off.
Yes, Townsend, we hear 5 laps for, well, now as he flashes by, that'll be 4 laps to go for Ryan Hunter-Reay before he pits. And I agree with Brian. I think what they did was they rode behind and they saved fuel. And then after what we already saw on pit road, you want to have good position when you come to make your pit stop. You don't want to be following somebody in. So nice job by the DHL crew to say, let's save some fuel, then take position, come and make the next stop. I'll be very interested to see if Mikhail Aleshin has to pit early after leading that long. If he doesn't, he really has something in the bag.
And that's a very strong race car when you can dictate, like Ryan Hunter-Reay is, when I want to pass. Basically, he's able to pass anytime he wants for the lead. And that's a really good sign as we start to get towards the second half of this race.
When you analyze where the cars are working, Ryan Hunter-Reay, as you said, Townsend, and Robin said as well, he's so good off of 1, gets the great run down into 2 and up towards 3. But the car that seems to be the best into 3 and off of 3 today has been Aleshin. If it's the last lap, where do you want your car to work the best? I want it to work through the last corner that's going to lead me to the checkered flag. Be interesting to see. We still have a long way to go. We're not even to the halfway mark yet. 8 laps till halfway. And already teams playing strategy to think about where you want to be at the end. Newgarden now up behind Aleshin.
And there goes Aleshin.
That answers Jan's question.
Yes, as Jan and Townsend predicted, he has to pit a little bit earlier than others, 60 miles an hour, Mikhail Aleshin, but he does have an empty pit lane, which is critical. So Aleshin will come in, he'll take Firestones. We'll see if they make any adjustments. He said the balance is just a little bit off, but the car is still pretty good. No chassis adjustments, and back out with about an 8-second stop for Mikhail Aleshin.
Good, clean stop. Aleshin back out. Expect to see Ryan Hunter-Reay, Carlos Munoz before long. Josef Newgarden should take over the lead at that point in time based upon the last round of pit stops. And indeed, Hunter-Reay and Munoz come to the pit lane.
And the track is starting to rubber in. That means Carlos Munoz feels much more secure with the rear end of his car as he pulls into his pit box for 4 fresh tires. And the team is going to make a front wing adjustment eventually after they get those tires on. And we'll see just how much of an adjustment they make. Oh, no adjustments, Jan.
And not surprisingly for Ryan Hunter-Reay, no changes. Wow, that was fast. Of course, we didn't see the beginning of that stop, but he easily gets out ahead of Carlos Munoz. We see others now setting up on pit road that have made 1 more lap than these. But boy, Ryan Hunter-Reay, things going just his way at the moment.
And here comes Mikhail Aleshin to the left side of the screen in that red and blue Honda-powered IndyCar as he flashes by. Newgarden leading right there in the 21. So things are going to cycle through. It's going to take 2 or 3 laps. We'll expect to see Josef Newgarden in, and things will settle back down. Ryan Hunter-Reay in front of Aleshin on the track right now as they try to get Firestones up to temperature. Aleshin with a run. there's no place Alotion wants to be than out front.
He just threw it up the inside of Hunter Ray. Obviously, Alotion had one lap warmer, tires up to speed, and Hunter Ray was wise not to defend too heavily there. Just tuck in as things cycle back through. This will probably be your first, second, third place drivers after Newgarden comes to pit lane along with Kanaan and Dixon.
But this is the strategy that worked just a few minutes ago as Ryan Hunter Ray content to follow. Josef Newgarden in.
Just had a word with the team and they shook their head no. No changes for Josef. And they have had lightning stop practice pit stops here. They want to do that again today. Mikhail Alotion's coming out of 3 as they send Josef Newgarden. And they, of course, will meet on the exit of turn number 1.
Sounds like somebody's airline popped off there. Now this is the battle for the lead. Watch Newgarden doing everything he can to get up to speed. Here comes Alotion. He should fly by on the back straight. The question is, can Hunter Ray get Newgarden going down to turn 2?
Chevy Power coming up to speed. Hunter Ray with a run. He's going to clear him. Alotion, then Ryan Hunter Ray, and then Newgarden. Dixon leads right now, but has yet to stop. Dixon, Power, Bourdais, Montoya, and Kanaan. Now Tony's in.
Tony says it's no secret that this style of track is his favorite. He plans to just kind of hang out till the last 100 laps. Expect him to move forward quite a bit, but it looks like a little bit of an issue for TK on this stop. We'll go try to figure out exactly what's going on.
Looks like the car stalled there, had to restart it, lost 3 or 4 seconds. That's pretty painful because on a track at this speed, that's going to put you out of the draft pack that he was running with before he came to pit lane. Here's Dixon.
And he's done a fantastic job. Remember, starting 19th, worst starting position in 2 years since he won from last in Mid-Ohio, and then he had to come in for punctured tires, but that may have worked out because he got a little bit off sequence. That's why he was able to go longer in this stint. Only an air pressure adjustment this time, and Scott Dixon is back out.
Dixon underway. Will Power takes over the lead. Pagenaud second. On the left, you see Mikhail Alotion, followed by Ryan Hunter Ray, Josef Newgarden. It's been this way since the drop of the green. Somebody looking for a chink in the armor, already trying to size up your competition. How am I going to take this victory? What's it going to take? As you see the 12 of Will Power come down pit road.
And the issue for Will Power still continues to be that he can't run in traffic. He can't run close behind cars. So again, look for them to make changes a little bit longer than you want on that left front, and not much of a wing change. That was just a couple of flaps. At the same time as he swings out, you'll see the pit stop going on for Simon Pagenaud. This should be a great opportunity for Will Power to pick up some points on Pagenaud, but at the moment, Power not able to capitalize on not such a good day so far for Pagenaud.
Well, if you're going to struggle on your run and you're in the championship battle, you want your nearest competitors to have a bad day as well. So that's really what's going on with Simon Pagenaud and Will Power. Not a bad day for any of these 3 drivers, Alotion, Hunter Ray, Newgarden.
I'm going to take Alotion to the USAC Sprint Car race Wednesday night in Kokomo, and Sam Schmidt's worried I'm going to try and get him in the hot lap session.
You are going to get him in the hot lap.
I might get him in the hot lap session. How about that? Think about it. He's a Russian. He grew up road racing. He loves ovals. Nigel Mansell, world driving champion, came over here. He won 5 ovals. Emerson Fittipaldi, Indy 500 winner twice. Why do road racers become good oval track drivers?
Halfway.
I think he's going to be more impressed with the Kokomo visit or the Mug and Bun to start the day.
No, Kokomo, brother. He loves the. He said, I would like the dirt. I said, you'd like it because you'd be sideways the whole night.
I'm sure he would like it. I've yet to see anybody go to a sprint car race for the first time and not come away totally impressed.
Just over the halfway mark this time by. 100 laps in the books, looking for 101. Yesterday, that would have been important as weather came in, but it is a beautiful day today. All 200 laps, 500 miles should be run, and Mikhail Alotion looking for his first Verizon IndyCar Series victory. The guys behind him, they're going to have a say in that. Mikhail Alotion leads a train of 4 cars down the front straightaway here at Pocono Raceway, the Indy Pocono 500. Brian Till, Townsend Bell, Robin Miller in the booth, and Katie Hargett, Jan Bikas, Kevin Lee down in pit lane. Why do you want to watch a Verizon IndyCar Series race? Because Just in the first half of this one, there have been 18 different lead changes and over 200 passes on the racetrack. Let's head down to Katie Hargan.
Brian, it was kind of a peculiar situation on pit road that took Elio Castroneves out of today's race. Elio, what happened from your perspective?
Yeah, we are coming from another strong pit stop. The Hitachi guys are doing phenomenal, and as soon as we're getting out, they're telling me Ray Howe is coming, but I didn't see anything, and all of a sudden when I just saw a car on top of me, to be honest. I didn't see anything else, and I thought it was all of a sudden changing Pennzoil oil. You know, you're like right there, it's like, what is that? So it was more scary, and obviously it hit a little bit of my hand, but nothing like that. But the car was so good. Hitachi car was so strong. Again, looks like we're just taking our pace. Turn 3 was really, the wind is pushing so hard that it's kind of understeer, so we kind of like adjusting the car all the time. I think a lot of the other competitors are having the same issues, but in the end of the day, man, those 500, my car is always good. I love it, so it's a shame that it's going to cost a lot in the championship. But we're kind of going back to Texas. We're very successful there, and hopefully we can make it happen.
Elio, you mentioned your hand, but it almost looks like to me you might have a headache.
I'll take some Advil. Everything's fine. Now, to be honest, there was inside the car I was actually more protected than what it looks like. Sometimes people don't realize, but Verizon IndyCar Series are doing so much for the safety, and today it's a proof of that. We're very glad that nobody got hurt in this incident.
Glad to see everybody okay today so far, Brian.
Absolutely, Katie. That's the most important thing. For Michaela Lotion right now, what's important is to stay out in front, but I've got to think that Ryan Hunter-Reay is content to run right where he is. That strategy played off on the last fuel stint.
Yeah, and I think the advantage goes to Hunter-Reay and Newgarden in this situation because they get the experience for the end of the race of running in traffic if they end up not leading, and you get to optimize your controls.
Connor Daly in 17th in the 88. Best finish this year. He had a great run at Belle Isle. If you're used to seeing him in the 18, but now he's in the 88, you'll see the sticker on the side. It says Brian Clausen forever.
Well, of course, Brian got to run Indy this year for Dale Coyne's team, was teammates with Connor, and he was killed a couple of weeks ago in a midget race in Belleville, Kansas when he was leading. He was going for 200 starts this year, and he had 117 already and already had 27 victories. And I think the whole field, all the guys that are IndyCar drivers even knew about Brian, and they always ask about how's he doing, how's he going on in his chase. And I think Graham Rahal said it best. He said, you know, I said, Brian only got to run the Indy 500. He got to run it 3 times, and he was going to qualify in the middle of the 4th row his very first year, and he crashed on his last lap, and he never felt really comfortable. And Graham Rahal said the other day, he said, you know what, if that kid would have had a proper test program, got comfortable as an engineer, and run 3 or 4 races before Indy, I think he'd have been pretty good. But he was exactly what the 60s racers were. He ran World of Outlaws this year, USAC sprint cars, USAC midgets, anything he wants. And then this Wednesday night in Kokomo, they're going to honor him on Wednesday afternoon in Kokomo, Indiana at the Kokomo Speedway, starting at 1 o'clock. It's going to be a lot of former drivers and a lot of Brian's best friends are going to speak. And then that night there's a USAC sprint car race in his honor.
Pretty special deal, and he was a hell of a racer, that's for certain. Connor Daly, the entire Dale Coyne team paying their respects by running that 88 this weekend. Daly flashes by, and the next group of cars are the leaders. Michaela Lotion, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Josef Newgarden, Carlos Munoz. It has stayed that way, and you got to feel like, as we said a moment ago, this is the time to sit, bide your time, and make sure you get to that last pit stop so you can battle at the end. I like what you said, though, Townsend. You know, for Josef Newgarden and for Ryan Hunter-Reay, they've been able to study the competition a little bit. For Michaela Lotion, he's run up front for so long, all he's seen is empty race cars.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with leading. There's nothing wrong with having a car that's fast enough to lead like that. But depending on how that final round of pit stops shakes out, Michaela Lotion might find himself maybe second, maybe third, and perhaps not with the same level of experience today in this track, in these conditions, as Hunter-Reay and Newgarden in terms of optimizing the balance. And I really like the way Hunter-Reay's car handles, especially in the second half of the tire stint. He really seems to be able to pass at will. So it's going to come down to just minimizing any vulnerabilities, doing things like maybe pitting a little early so that you're all by yourself on pit lane, you know, looking for opportunities to just take the risk out of running up front with the unknown. How do you eliminate any possible mistakes or unknowns as you try to get to that lap 200?
Alotion now using a little bit of draft off Connor Daly. And you want to catch these cars in front of you at the right time so that you can use that draft to help you slingshot by, and that's exactly what Mikhail Alotion does. Into turn 3, he's clear, and now Ryan Hunter-Reay will have to work his way by. Hunter-Reay is going to get a good toe onto the front straightaway. Great stuff for Pocono. You're watching IndyCar, brought to you by Verizon. Go inside IndyCar all season long. Make sure you download the IndyCar mobile from Verizon. Pocono Raceway, known as the Tricky Triangle, and it's a good look at all 3 turns that are here. And you say, 3 turns? What turn 4? That's right, a triangle. And when you look at the racetrack, there are 3 very different corners. As we said earlier, 14 degrees of banking in turn 1, 8 in turn 2, 6 in turn 3. And these guys up front right now are negotiating all of them very, very well. Mikhail Alotion just turned the fastest lap of the race a few laps ago without the help of the draft, because he's the one that's pulling the train.
He is the draft.
And we watch Ryan Hunter-Reay apparently just having the race going exactly how he wants to. We've documented that he is sore. We've documented this is a new car for him, and he crashed in very odd circumstances, and we talked about this. It was early on the first practice of the weekend, Saturday morning, where they did what's codenamed a Q-Sim, qualifying simulation. They decided to try to do that before they really had a read on the car. And boy, doesn't this just pass the message up and down pit road. Don't force your Q-Sim, because you can start at the back of the field and spend the weekend getting your car tuned up and be in a position like we see for Ryan Hunter-Reay now with the car exactly how he wants it.
Running well right now, and it just looks like he is so content to stay where he is.
See a little bit of a jog from Alotion. That's signaling to Hunter-Reay. That's the professional thing to do. Hey, I'm coming to pit lane. Watch it out of 3. So we should see Alotion come in. There he is.
Last pitted on lap 93. This is finishing 120.
Stop number 4 for Mikhail Alotion. One of the biggest challenges with a 500-mile race is to be able to get the extra 2 or maybe 3 pit stops executed flawlessly. So far, 3 for 3 for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. Firestone Firehawks going on, full of Sunoco fuel, and it's a good stop under 8 seconds, and Alotion is away.
Front wing adjustment for Alotion as they drop him, and he heads back out. Where's Ryan Hunter-Reay? He's coming through turn 3 at the moment. Alotion back on the racetrack. It was a tremendous stop.
Yeah, it looked pretty smooth and flawless. Like his previous stop, they opted to come in essentially on their own without any chance of drama on pit lane. But let's go back and look at Mikhail Alotion at Mid-Ohio, leading easily at the time final pit stop. And much like we saw earlier, right into Josef Newgarden as Newgarden was trying to come to his box. And that was a disaster for Alotion. So easily had a win right there, but it can all go wrong. And maybe that's why we see him pitting like he is today without any risk of that. Kevin?
Haynes Hitchcock has had a good run today. He's been in the top 5. They've had some concern of the engine cowling on the right side being a little bit off, so they take a look at that. They also had some bare bond tape out there to be ready to apply if they think they need it. I couldn't see it. I was on the far side of the car, whether they applied it or not.
Obviously, if that engine cover is loose, you see it just in front of the Oculus logo on the right side of the bodywork, and they didn't get the leading edge of that down, and you can see, and it's gone.
And that gives you a sense of just how strong the air is. He's not even up to speed, and it's blown that tape off, and you can see now the engine cover flapping around. That causes 2 problems. One, drag on the car, and also instability in the corners as Graham Rahal hits pit lane.
Fuel going in, tires going on, cars down, waiting on the fuel, and a good stop for Graham Rahal. And now Ryan Hunter-Reay is in, trying to get the car slowed down by the mark, 60 miles an hour, the number they're looking for. Keep an eye on where Alotion is on the left. Munoz in.
And he is asking the team for some help into turn 3, so they're making some changes on that car as they put on the Firestone Firehawks, and he's down and away, Jan.
You talk about those changes. We're waiting to see if they do. They wave off. They do not make a change, but it was a very quick stop for Ryan Hunter-Reay. On the left-hand side, you'll see what's happening on the track. Behind, we'll see now as he slots in. And Alotian's coming with a head of steam.
A head of steam because he just set the fastest race lap again, and there he goes. 2:17.2 on the lap just 2 laps ago for Mikhail Alotian. So those new Firestone tires after that pit stop, he is absolutely flying.
The Russian rocket grabbing the afterburner there into turn 1, and you have to be so careful late in the race that there aren't marbles building up offline as he worked his way around Ryan Hunter-Reay. But Hunter-Reay is going to get up to speed here as Alotian's now struggling a bit to get past Hawksworth. This is going to allow Hunter-Reay to come right back at him.
And the last pit stop, TK ran out of fuel. The team ended up having a long stop and having to restart the car. TK dropped through the field, but a quick stop this time.
Tony Kanaan back underway, and that's a costly mistake. Every second in pit lane, you're losing over 300 feet on the racetrack to your competitors. Kanaan back underway, but Alotian absolutely flying here at Pocono. Now Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to get around Jack Hawksworth. Hawksworth, the second car in the shot, the 41 AJ Foyt Stables, and now Hunter-Reay through.
Excellent outlap from Ryan Hunter-Reay. He closed about a second on Alotian as Dixon's in pit lane, and Dixon quietly marching his way to the front. Great pit stop. Came in 9th, but he was running in 6th, prior to the pit stop.
Be interesting to see the moves right now that are being covered. Josef Newgarden on pit road. Alotian, Ryan Hunter-Reay working in lockstep, just a lap apart on their pit stops, back together on the racetrack.
And what's very interesting is as we see cars that can pit a lap or 2 later, Josef Newgarden not expected to make any changes here, as at the moment, if there is not a caution, they do look like they go for a half a turn of front wing. My point is, everyone who can go longer here, it may not change your position on track if it stays green, but those who pit later, if we ever catch a caution, that may really play later.
Alotian through, Ryan Hunter-Reay through, and then you saw Josef Newgarden coming out of the pit lane. So he'll drop to pretty much where he was in the serial before the pit stops. Also saw Charlie Kimball in there in the 83 back on the racetrack after that incident in pit lane with Alexander Rossi and Elio Castroneves. So Kimball back on track, and Newgarden a ways behind Alotian and Ryan Hunter-Reay.
And Sebastian Bourdais trying to stretch his fuel a little bit longer so that he can get some time out front and get what it feels like, a little bit less turbulence. Brian?
So down and away goes Sebastian. You also see Connor Daly on pit road right now. Will Power goes to the lead, and he too will have to pit here in the next couple of laps. That'll cycle back through as you see Power come to pit road. We'll get back to a very familiar trio up front.
Will Power again wanting to take the opportunity. It was nice that he got a chance to lead for a moment because it's following other cars that has been his issue for today. You can see they did not touch the car. Kevin?
Juan Pablo Montoya has been tuning on it throughout the day. Remember that big crank of front wing we saw earlier. This time they're thinking about just a quarter turn. There you see it, and Montoya is back out.
Saw Mikhail Alotian, Ryan Hunter-Reay flash through. Newgarden passed as well as Montoya heads back out. Max Chilton in. So Max Chilton in routine stop. He'll work his way back out on the racetrack. Pagenaud cycles to the front, but as soon as he comes back in, it'll be Mikhail Alotian as Pagenaud now heads to the pit. Fast and frantic here at Pocono.
And he got that lap led, as you mentioned. And remember, when you pit this late, when you're pitting this much after Ryan Hunter-Reay, there's always a chance later on that he can leapfrog back up to the front of the standings. So at the moment, if you don't have the speed on the track, at least go farther and pit later.
Simon Pagenaud, your points leader, back on the racetrack as you look back down. Graham Rahal followed by Tony Kanaan. They'll try to close the gap. Sebastian Bourdais works his way around James Hinchcliffe there in the gold and black number 5. Pagenaud now trying to get past Connor Daly, that bright yellow 22, the championship points leader, trying to make ground, pull even more distance in the championship over his nearest competitor and teammate, Will Power. But up front, Honda Power still prevails here at Pocono. Mikhail Aloshin remains up front. Great history. 1971, the first time IndyCar ran here at Pocono, and there have been some great races, Robin.
Well, what's amazing is there was 100,000 people over the first year. It was built for Indy cars, and it was part of the Triple Crown along with the Ontario Motor Speedway and the Indy 500. So it was a pretty special place. And there's Danny Sullivan spraying when he was driving the Domino's car.
Racetrack designed for Indy cars, and Ryan Hunter-Reay, you saw it during commercial, goes to the lead over Mikhail Aloshin, and that happened pretty quickly. And I wonder, did Aloshin have a problem, or did he say, okay, I'm content to follow for a while. I've been out front. My time to go to school and save some fuel. Josef Newgarden was there in 3rd, and now you see Tony Kanaan in 8th. Simon Pagenaud just in front of him. Kanaan goes down a gear, coming off a 3 down the front straightaway.
See the back of Pagenaud's car just wandering a bit there mid-corner. So he's driving this thing. There's not a lot of cruise out of Simon Pagenaud right now. He's trying to squeeze every bit of performance. And now we see Newgarden trying to make a move. I'm starting to think, guys, that maybe Mikhail Aloshin is not handling quite like he wants to be out there right now, because Hunter-Reay probably opted, I'm too fast to just sit here and ride. I want to go lead and not fall back into the clutches of Josef Newgarden.
We talked about a vibration a little bit earlier on, but perhaps that went away with the change of tires, because as you had said, Townsend, it was later in a stint, but Aloshin has dropped well back of Ryan Hunter-Reay at this point in time. I would think in danger of losing any advantage of the draft, because that is a long way back. And now Josef Newgarden right there on the rear wing.
Yeah, it's not uncommon on these super speedways for a vibration to develop on the left rear tire, and depending on your damper settings, it can either mitigate or accentuate that vibration.
And what you can see here is Ryan Hunter-Reay, that was not by accident. He's been speaking with his team, and Ray Gosselin, who's his engineer and strategist, they saw all these cars ahead that they could draft off of, so they left their draft partner. They decided, we don't need Aloshin right now. Look at all these cars we're catching up to, so he can now pick up the pace, use teammates and other cars, and maintain that pace and fuel mileage, and he's taking advantage and trying to leapfrog all the way to the front and gap Aloshin.
Interesting, we said it at the beginning of the show, it's a 220+ mile-an-hour game of chess, and right now the pieces are being moved around, and Ryan Hunter-Reay using some of those slower cars, the lap cars in front, to try to get an advantage. Remember, he started last. He's passed every car on the racetrack except Takuma Sato, who crashed on lap 1. So he has been on it from the get-go, as has Aloshin, but now the strategy changing just a bit.
Now he's got a little bit of an issue here as Marco Andretti, his teammate, desperately wants to stay on the lead lap and wants to work his way through the slower cars. So now Marco in a difficult situation. How much do I help my teammate? Well, there's your answer. Pull over, let him by. You see the peace symbol from Hunter-Reay, and this is a dream race day car for Ryan Hunter-Reay. The ability to pass the leader at will, basically work the strategy to your liking. Do I want to lead? Do I want to follow? Do I want to go with that pack? And that's where you want to be as a driver in this series, with the ability to go anywhere at any time.
Townsend, we saw Ryan Hunter-Reay just put his teammate Marco Andretti a lap down. Marco Andretti has been screaming on the radio all day about how unhappy he is with the car, because he says, I just don't have the speed my teammates have. What is going on? And they said, Marco, your car is quite a bit different from theirs, so every pit stop they're trying to make smaller and smaller adjustments to make his car closer to the rest of the Andretti Auto Sport cars. Also, another interesting note on Marco, his water bottle isn't working. Early on in the race, it broke and splashed all over him. Evan?
Katie in the number 7 pit for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports with Sam Schmidt. All right, does Mikhail want to lead or be second right now?
I think we're trying a lot of different things here right now. I mean, Still a long race to go, and we've led a lot, so we wanted to definitely try and see what it was like coming and going in traffic. So tried a little downforce this time, and we might change it up for the next run as well.
Why do you think this driver, until 2 years ago, that hadn't done ovals, has taken so well to ovals?
Can't tell you. I mean, if I knew we'd, but I know the guys from Europe sometimes struggle, and from our first test at Indy back in 2014, took to it like water, absolutely loved the oval, and he's loved it ever since. So, obviously doing a great job, the whole team all weekend, both cars have been fast, and yeah, just trying to be there at the end of the race for it.
Right now, he is right there in the mix. Mikhail Aleshin running second.
He's down to third, and the gap between he and Newgarden has gotten pretty big, and Mikhail Aleshin's going the wrong direction. Will Power now.
Well, I think you heard Sam Schmidt say that they're trying different downforce levels, so you have the ability on these cars on a pit stop to come in with like a cordless drill with the socket extension and make a rear wing angle adjustment while they do the front wing, and I believe they're trying more downforce on this run, and I can promise you they're going to think long and hard about backing that change out so Aleshin goes back to where he was running earlier with a lot more speed.
Absolutely, he's gone the wrong direction. Will Power up to third. Look at Chevy driver profiles, oval dominant. Scott Dixon, 20 oval wins, and Dixon now back in sixth. Castor Neves isn't there. Will Power trying to get a little bit better and put another win in the column there. He's got 3 so far, and Will Power in third. Now, obviously, a win would certainly help him in the championship battle with his teammate Simon Pagenaud. Ryan Hunter-Reay from the back to the front here at Pocono. Can he repeat as back-to-back winners on the Tricky Triangle? Thursday, September 8th, the Panthers take on the world champion Broncos in a rematch of Super Bowl 50. And then September 11th, Sunday night, is football night as the Patriots take on the Cardinals. NFL kickoff weekend begins Thursday, September 8th, only on NBC. Beautiful skies over Pocono, and this weekend has really been one of remembrance, Katie.
Brian Till, as you see up and down pit lane, those Union Jacks at half staff. That's because a year ago we lost Justin Wilson here at Pocono Raceway in a tragic crash, and we are working to honor Justin Wilson all weekend here. You see crews with the stickers on their helmets. Our NBCSN team also decided to sport, as you see there, our Justin Wilson U-Swag socks. Those all proceeds from those socks go to a charity that Justin was highly involved in, the Dyslexia Institute, and something that Justin cherished when he was here with us. And you see our entire NBCSN team there sporting our U-Swag socks. Justin Wilson, the gentle giant, his presence is definitely missed here on pit lane as you see the leader come down to take his pit stop. Brian.
Mikhail Aleshin in, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Expect to see him in shortly.
29 laps on this stint for Mikhail Aleshin, who came in on lap 20. His teammate James Hinchcliffe just came in a moment ago. You see a little bit of a turn on the front wing for Aleshin. He's got one more stop to go and a chance to win his first IndyCar race.
Closing in on lap 150. That's the 3/4 mark here at Pocono. And we talk about Brian Clausen a little bit earlier. Justin Wilson, also special to note. Both of those two gentlemen helped save the lives and change the lives of 11 other individuals as they were both organ donors, and that is just a tremendous gesture. Two very, very special people. Ryan Hunter-Reay, second car in the shot right now. That bright yellow 28 has run so well. A car that came off the trailer after his main car had involved in the crash, and that opened your eyes there, Robin.
Yeah, that was a closing rate that looked like an IMSA race.
One thing I noticed there, guys, as much green flag running as we've had today, it means that there has not been a chance for the sweepers to go out in these corners, and I'm starting to see a lot of the marbles pick up offline. That becomes a really important factor as we get to green flag pit stops. If you remember how Aleshin blew by Hunter-Reay on the outside, the risk starts to go way up for side-by-side racing mid-corner unless we get a long yellow. There you can see some of the debris on the track that makes this track single groove more and more as we get to the finish.
You actually saw a piece of rubber fly up as Graham Rahal now comes to pit road. Will Power just set the fastest lap of the race. Pippa Mann out of her pit stall, Graham Rahal into his. Leader also on pit road.
And for Ryan Hunter-Reay, again, we know he's on the early part of the cycle. You see Graham Rahal leave. There's no real issue there with the crossover for Graham Rahal. Expect no changes here. That's not surprising. As fast as this car has been today, you just want a nice routine stop, kind of keep that track position, make sure it's full. Remember, the stops later in the day take a little bit longer. You don't have as much pressure in the fuel tanks. We watch now to see if he slots in, and he should slot well ahead of Mikhail Aleshin.
Aleshin just off the apex of 3. Scott Dixon is in.
Great stop under 8 seconds for Dixon. He was running 6th through that stint from the back into contention for Scott Dixon, who desperately wants to have a result after all kinds of bad luck this season. His teammate Tony Kanaan there in the blue and white car behind him. We're on board Kanaan now.
Talk about desperate for a good finish here. Tony Kanaan has led all 3 years since the IndyCars have returned here, but has never had a top 10 finish. Just bad luck, and had some today as they ran out of fuel. As Katie had said earlier, it had to work to get that engine fired back to life. Will Power in the lead, 152 laps down, past the 3/4 mark.
And he's one of the cars that has been able to extend his pit window. Last pit on lap 128, so roughly 30 laps on a full stint. So we'd expect him maybe in 3 or 4 laps, thus trying to push his fuel window even further for his final stop. But a nice march through the field for Will Power. Sort of quiet, nothing spectacular, Robin, so far, but as a championship contender, it's looking good today.
Yeah, and he's going to be a father for the first time. His wife Liz is expectant, so I doubt that tempers his aggression. Do you think? Temper his aggression in fatherhood. It didn't temper yours.
It might temper his sleep as we get to Sonoma, but
well, one thing I can tell you that's not tempered, and that is the pace of his car. They're very pleased that the track is coming to Will Power. They added downforce in the first 2 stops. Now I just spoke with Tim Cindric, who makes those calls, and said now the car is working in traffic. We think the track is coming to us, and we like the speed we have at this point for Will Power.
He's collected some bonus points, a little bit of a push there, I think, out of turn 1.
Well, and he might have had to turn in just slightly higher as Marco Andretti, I believe, was coming out of the pit lane. And again, where those marbles come into play is you really want to tiptoe your way if you're going to adjust your line half a car width. If you get into the marbles, man, you can take off and end up in the wall very easily.
How do you tiptoe at 217 miles an hour? Can you explain that?
Delicately, trust me. Yeah, it's all senses are firing at 100% when you're driving these things at this speed on a track like this.
Here Tim Cindric say we're going to pit this lap. Newgarden from 2nd place heads to pit road.
And they are expecting to take some wing out. They didn't specify which, but I would assume we're going to watch to take out a little bit of front wing. Again, the pit stop's slightly slower when you don't have the same sort of gravity pressure. And yes, oh, that's a lot. That's about 3/4 of a turn of front wing out for Josef Newgarden. That'll change the balance.
The reason that's a lot, Jan, I just noticed out the back of the car they were making a comprehensive downforce change. And this is the battle as Newgarden comes out. You see Hunter-Reay go flying by as Power hits pit lane. So they were removing downforce overall.
And we spoke about the fact that Will Power feels as though the track is coming to him, so they're not expected to make those downforce changes. They need a quick stop and try to get him that track position so he can maintain. Remember, he wants clean air, so they're trying to make these pit stops and get as much clean air as they can, and he gets out at the moment, just as we see Connor Daly leaving the pits as well.
It'll be interesting to see where Josef Newgarden slots in. They had a great stop, and it looked like he may have come out in front of Mikhail Aleshin. In fact, you see Will Power go by. There is Ryan Hunter-Reay in the yellow 28. Behind him, it's Josef Newgarden, and then a little bit further back, Mikhail Aleshin.
That's a pretty impressive stop for Will Power to leapfrog what will become the lead when everybody else comes to the pits. I guess Bourdais your leader right now, so he'll have to stop soon.
And Power now has his Firestones warming up. The pressure's coming up, and Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to have to work hard to get around him.
Here's what I was talking about earlier, Brian. This is Josef Newgarden coming to the pits, and just in the back here, through the rear wing, you can see the air jack man winding the socket wrench, so he is taking the rear wing angle down, and then they have to match it at the front. So that's an overall downforce drop. That's going to help his straight line speed, but make it a little trickier in traffic.
Well, we saw or heard of an aero change on Oloshin. It didn't work in his favor as he is dropped back. Ryan Hunter-Reay still plenty strong, but who's strong right now? Will Power out in front after that last round of stops, and going past Connor Daly, Ryan Hunter-Reay has his sights set on the number 12. Great action from the Indy Pocono 500. Still a long way to go. Make sure you don't miss it. Oh, and a problem just as we went to break.
Championship leader Simon Pagenaud.
We talked about being safe, not doing anything to risk those points. Don't do anything here that you don't need to do. And for Pagenaud, big impact, the whole right side of that car damaged. The exit of turn 1. And this is going to change the complexion of the championship enormously.
Just as Will Power takes the lead, the guy he's battling for in the championship. So huge jump possible for Power in the points.
Out of the car on his own, walking away, looks to be okay. That is good news as the Homaltro safety crew once again right there on the scene.
And the question is, did he spin 180 degrees and hit the wall with the left side?
Just as we were going to break. What was that? So the car just...
Now, and you can see the brakes are locked. So I talked earlier about the marbles, and I wonder if he just got a little high mid-corner and it just took off on him. You could see the black marks as he tried to lock up and prevent impact, but once you're high, there's really no chance to get the car back to the groove.
Did I see a puff of smoke out of the back of the car before the car drifted up high? Did it bottom out, perhaps?
I believe that would have been him locking the brakes, so there he's up early already.
Now, it was well before what you were talking about when the brakes locked. It was more at the entry to the corner, but for some reason the car just gets loose, slides up high.
Yeah, the impact's already happened there.
Any way you look at it, a 58-point lead coming into this weekend. You said don't be spectacular here. There are only two ways to be spectacular: be spectacularly good or have an incident like this. And anytime you make contact with the wall here, now look out the back, just in the center of the car. There.
One, I saw the spark, and he probably bottomed, which is why he got in the spark, but I wonder if the bottom just got him a little high. And again, with all the marbles there, once you're that full car width out of the dark groove, you have no chance.
I saw that little puff of smoke, the spark, and I wonder, like you said, does it just slide the car just enough to get it up out of the groove?
Sometimes it can bottom and just basically move the whole car, all four wheels up a little bit.
Let's listen. Yep, he certainly heard it.
I think that's what it was, Brian, was just the car bottoming. He just refueled. Tire pressure still coming up, so the car's running a little bit lower than it will after 2 laps at speed. And I don't think he had a chance there.
Went from what was going to be a pretty good day for Simon Pagenaud to one that he will want to forget. The complexion of the championship has changed.
Back at Pocono Raceway after a heavy crash for Simon Pagenaud. After he had made a pit stop and went back out, we're with Kyle Moyer, who's on the radio with Simon. Did he have an indication to you on the radio as to what he thought happened?
Yeah, we just bottomed under low tire pressures. You know, the Menard car was running pretty decent. We were opening it up and going to let it go a little bit. We took some downforce off there in the last stop, and you know, we aren't as quick as Will, which is leading and which is good, you know, for the team. But the Menards car was just, you know, a top 7, maybe 6th place car, we thought. And we just, you know, bottomed out there on the cold tire pressures out of the pits. And there's a big bump there in 1, and we hit it in up car. But, you know, that's a good thing about the Indy car. That was a big hit and everything. And to see the cars stay together and take care of him, he jumped right out, you know, and that's the main concern, you know, everything's okay. And, you know, we're fighting another day for this championship, you know, no matter what, we were going to be leaving here. So, you know, we still got this championship. It's going to come down to a fight, you know, but that's what we want.
Well, the championship fight has become all that close. Thank you, Kyle.
It is definitely going to be a fight. Let's take it back to the very beginning. Ryan Hunter-Reay, absolutely impressive at the start. Takes the high line through 1.
When the track's clean, you can get away with that, making up lots of positions, working the high side, but then this happens. Takuma Sato running 3rd at the time, just lost it in turn 3. Big impact, good to see him walk away.
Ryan Hunter-Reay starts dead last to 1st. Car's been hooked up all day long.
Then lap 58, the bad luck continues for Ed Carpenter. Some sort of driveline failure there.
Had some big hits, but one of the scariest moments of the race was right here. Alexander Rossi leaves his pit box, gets Charlie Kimball, and then up and over Helio Castroneves.
Disaster for Rossi, who was leading the race at the time. Also for Castroneves, lucky to come away from that one.
And then Simon Pagenaud dodges a bullet here. His 2 teammates, one on either side, backs out of that one. Not able to avoid this, bottoms out as you heard them say in turn 1, and then up into the wall, heavy contact and big implications for the championship. Katie?
Yeah, and we heard Kyle Moyer explain what he thought had happened, but now, like you said, major championship implications for Simon Pagenaud. Simon, how does this change how you'll race the rest of the season?
I don't know. We just had a crash. The car bottomed, and I went into the wall. So really weird because I had bottoming, but not to that extent, and yeah, I just lost control of the steering. So I don't know. It's that one's weird, but you know, it's definitely a bit of a shame. We didn't have a really good car today, but still it was important to score points. So let's see what happened. At the end of the day, it's not in my control now. All we got to do is race hard to the end of the year.
Thanks, Simon. Glad you're okay.
Glad he is okay, but what he doesn't want to see is this. Will Power up front. He's collected bonus points for leading, and now he's up front. If he wins this race, it's really going to tighten things up. This is going to be a wild one down to turn 1. Green flag flies. Here we go. Ryan Hunter-Reay already looking to pounce.
Ryan Hunter-Reay putting that race car to good work. It's worked well for him all day. Aloshin in 3rd, and look at Newgarden working the high side now.
Oh, and you talk about the marbles out there, and remember, everything's cooled down, tires a little bit cooler. They did sweep during that caution, but still, that is a risky move. And Tony Kanaan, Scott Dixon side by side.
That looked pretty close between 2 teammates, and no, Hunter-Reay's got an issue. Hunter-Reay slow on the backstretch.
What happened?
Trying to listen to the radio. Ryan Hunter-Reay slowing on the backstretch, takes the infield pit road, keeps him off.
What do I do? What happened? You got to talk to me. We have no idea what's wrong. Why are you here? Just won't. There's no power. It won't go.
Ryan looking for instructions from the crew as to what can I do? Is it something electric? Can I
power cycling coming down pit lane?
He lost the onboard camera when he power cycled the car there with his left hand. Up front, though, the battle between Power and Aloshin's getting fierce.
Get back out there if you can. Just drive through.
Oh, no. He's going to lose a lap.
And, of course, that power cycling, what that means is you shut off the electronics and you reboot it, like rebooting your computer. But obviously now, look at the cars just stream by Ryan Hunter-Reay after having to go through pit lane, and Power puts him a lap down already.
Yeah, he's a lap down. In fact, 2nd place gets by, 3rd place, Tony Kanaan in 4th by as well, and here comes Munoz. Ryan Hunter-Reay. After running so strong.
Man, and it's tough for Hunter-Reay because,
listen.
Just shut off on him.
When
Now, generally, when that happens, you start just flipping switches. You know, can I get this thing to do anything? And he waited until pit lane to have the conversation, and you can hear the frustration in his engineer's voice saying, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what to tell you what to do if I can't diagnose the situation. But Hunter Ray's going to try to fight back here. If he can work his way back to the front, we know the race car is capable enough. If he caught a yellow, he could get back on the lead lap, and wouldn't it be fun to see him charge through the field again?
166 laps down, working 167. There has never been a back-to-back winner in IndyCar competition at Pocono, and it looks like perhaps it won't happen this year. Will Power out in front right now, Josef Newgarden behind him. Boy, how things have changed. We've ridden on board today with Ryan Hunter-Reay when he was out front. This is an unfamiliar place, a lap down. The 4 cars in front of him have passed him on the racetrack after that electrical problem. And for Ryan Hunter-Reay, what seemed to be an exceptional day turned into something very sour, Jan.
And now, of course, they have to scramble and figure out how can we recover from this. The first thing you want to do is go full rich, the best engine map that you can manage, and try and work your way through these cars to get ahead in case there's a caution, as Townsend had mentioned, and get your lap back. It does not appear as though he's able to do that. The next thing you might do is come onto pit road and try to be the first person to make that last stop. That window opened on lap 168. It's now 171, getting close to 172. So whoever comes in now can make it to the end, but that would be even a bigger risk for Ryan Hunter-Reay for him to get back on that lead lap.
And as cool as it is today, you've got to think that if you've got a good car that runs through an entire stint, why would you not want to be the first person to come in? Tire degradation, not much of a factor if your car has stayed balanced throughout the run. 172 laps in the books for Will Power, working 173.
I'm surprised we haven't seen a gambler yet come down pit lane to be that first car to make a stop in case a late race yellow were to come out. But look at the points as they run right now. Unbelievable charge for Will Power the last few races to make up the deficit to Pagenaud.
Pagenaud came in with a 58-point lead. That has been diminished greatly. Can Will Power take another victory in 2016? Under caution at Pocono, debris on the racetrack in turn 1, and this is, one more time, changed everything. The game just got changed again. Everybody should be coming to pit for their last stop this time by, and what do? Do you leave the car the same? Do you change it?
Well, how about Tony Kanaan? What do you do there? Because that piece of debris came off his race car. That's a winglet off the left rear wheel pod of Tony Kanaan right there. And if that goes, that's a lot of downforce. So look for Tony Kanaan to have to make a front wing adjustment as we see out the back. The compensation for losing this piece, which is supposed to also be duplicated on that side. So Tony Kanaan, the right rear winglet is there, the left rear was there. That's what fell onto the racetrack. Must have just broken off and caused the yellow flag for debris. So the race on pit road, timing is essential, but also avoiding disaster. We saw it already with Rossi and Castroneves.
And now everyone is going to be there, and here they go. They'll carry as much speed as they can to the line. Then it's 60 miles an hour from the speed limit cones to their pit boxes.
60 miles an hour, as you mentioned. Here they come. Triple pits up top. We're watching Mikhail Aloshin in the blue and red car. He, among the leaders, is going to get there first. He is not planning any significant changes this time. The car has been fantastic. Aloshin back out in a moment, Jan.
And, of course, the next was Josef Newgarden. And at the same time, wow, Will Power launched already. Will Power, with a lightning fast stop, easily leaves here with the lead. Now, you may have also noticed there was not a stop for Ryan Hunter-Reay. By staying out, that will get his lap back. He'll be at the back, but be on the same lap.
Sebastian Bourdais picks up 5 positions on the stop. Didn't take any tires. That's going to be a handful when we come back to Pocono. Will Power trying to warm up his Firestones as he leads the line. For the restart here, Indy Pocono 500, after Tony Kanaan lost a winglet from his number 10 in turn 1. That left debris on the racetrack. Here is Tony Kanaan on his stop. You said they need to make a front wing adjustment.
You would think so, and here it is. A front tire changer, 2 full turns, so that's how much rear downforce you lose with the winglet. And then there was this drag race to the line at pit out.
Sebastian Bourdais picks up 5 positions. You see him go by, but then Tony Kanaan and Michaela Lotion side by side. And they'll get that reordered as Will Power brings him to the line. What can Bourdais do on tires that will have 2 stints on them? It's Tony Kanaan to the far right with a car that he knows nothing about how it's going to handle. Flashes into turn 1 in 2nd place.
20 laps to go. It's going to get crazy at Pocono. Watch the yellow DHL Honda back there from Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's now back on the lead lap. And there's nothing better than a chip on his shoulder with a good race car. He's going to be pushing really hard.
And they made changes aerodynamically to Ryan Hunter-Reay. You ride on board. James Hinchcliffe, the next car in front. Hinch trying to work his way around Graham Rahal. Strike another car off for Ryan Hunter-Reay as he now tries to get to the front past Hinchcliffe. Power, though, pulling out from Josef Newgarden right behind, and Michaela Lotion now working his way by Tony Kanaan. Kanaan in the solid blue number 10 drops to 4.
I loves restarts.
Look at Hunter-Reay is already in the top 10. Now he's got to run down the backstretch. We'll see if he can get Hinchcliffe going into turn 3. There's plenty of time, but he needs to average about half a car a lap in terms of passing. So he can measure his pace a little bit here, but you can't wait too long.
Why do you never give up? This is exactly why. You never know when fate's going to give you a hand that you can play. For Ryan Hunter-Reay, he's got that now. Can he get back to the front? Will Power still leads. Then Josef Newgarden, Michaela Lotion. A Lotion with some changes over the last couple of stops to get the handle back on the number 7. Newgarden strong, though. You got to be impressed with Penske and Will Power methodically trying to improve. Look at Ryan Hunter-Reay on James Hinchcliffe. Hinchcliffe going to pinch him down low.
Ryan Hunter-Reay saying, my friend, don't put me there, I'm not lifting, and he takes the position. Ryan Hunter-Reay now in 9th.
Doesn't affect his run too much off of turn 2, so he'll have good speed out of 3. Next car in front for Ryan Hunter-Reay, Scott Dixon. Meanwhile, Will Power continuing to pull out a bit over Josef Newgarden. Michaela Lotion now up to 2nd.
Good job, bud. Let's go.
Let's go.
It's like, what do you think he's doing?
Well, yeah, as if I've been just sitting there having a lemonade. Come on.
I have nothing left for Natasha.
Let's see if Newgarden can respond now. Tony Kanaan, now remember, he lost the winglet, so he's lacking overall downforce, but that should make him very quick in a straight line. Oh, and that's Bourdais on very old tires, sticking it on the inside of Tony Kanaan. Kanaan's going to try to come right back at him.
Tony trying to answer back. Remember, Sebastian Bourdais did not change tires. That's how he picked up positions on the stop. 220 miles an hour, side by side into turn 1. Kanaan takes it. Ryan Hunter-Reay past Scott Dixon. Carlos Munoz next on the list for Ryan Hunter-Reay, and most important, he's with that lead pack.
Well, and most importantly, I think he's hitting that pass 1 car every 2 laps average, which is what it's going to take for him to get to the front. He's currently running about 2.5, 3 seconds back from the leader, so he has to continue his march. He might get a chance here. That's his teammate Carlos Munoz in front, who had the lift coming off of turn 3. Does Hunter-Reay have the speed? It looks like he might.
Does. Big draft, big toe from the cars in front. Munoz moves to block. Hunter-Reay, nothing doing. He's going to stick it in there and works his way by. Talk about determination. Ryan Hunter-Reay will not be held back. Max Chilton now. No, it's Juan Pablo Montoya.
And they've been on the radio to Ryan Hunter-Reay saying, remember, at the start of the race, you blitzed the field in 3 laps. You can do it. Go, go, go. So they're cheerleading here on the radio, and he's delivering.
Montoya moves low to block.
Wow, look at that move from Hunter-Reay. He started high, he crossed over in the turbulence and flat out smoked Montoya. And now Montoya's going for the draft. Hunter-Reay is up to 6th.
Ryan Hunter-Reay now next on his list is going to be Bourdais. Montoya on the high side, not really where you want to be. Hunter-Reay is going to get the advantage off of 1. Can he maintain it to 2? If he can maintain it to 2,
boy, Montoya
he should have a good run.
Speed.
Man,
here comes Dixon.
Dixon with a toe off both of them. Dixon flashes by. The 2 cars running side by side punched a massive hole in the air and gave Scott Dixon an advantage.
And Robin, the Chevys are giving the Hondas a heck of a battle here in the final stint on the straightaway. You hear Hunter-Reay saying we've got too much downforce on. Unfortunately, Ryan, there is nothing your team can do for you at this point. We're in the final stint, and now Mikhail Aleshin has caught Will Power at the front.
Aleshin close enough to get the toe. What does he have? Honda versus Chevy. Will Power out in front. He wants this victory. He wants to extend the champion or close the championship lead. Hunter-Reay back on Juan Pablo Montoya.
And that's the give and take. They would have added downforce potentially to Hunter-Reay's cars. You see Bourdais go by Canaan for starting at the back of the pack and work his way through, but now he's at the front, Robin, and he's got all the downforce. He doesn't want it now.
No, and I think the thing that's amazing is you thought maybe he needed a brief yellow to probably get back to have a chance to win the race. It probably looks like that, but I'm impressed with Aleshin because he's come roaring back, boys. It looked like maybe he didn't have anything with power.
Columbia versus Columbia.
Munoz works his way by, or does he, past Montoya. We saw Montoya stick to the high side before with Ryan Hunter-Reay. Does the exact same thing. The drag race down to 2. Who's going to get the toe? It's going to be Graham Rahal, just like Scott Dixon.
Oh boy, this is not pretty.
And James Hinchcliffe now trying to take advantage. The over-under cuts back down. Hinchcliffe should get a run. Those 2 cars side by side should give him an advantage.
Montoya continues to run the high line around Pocono. I didn't think I'd ever see that through turns 1 and 3. Here comes Graham now looking to the high side.
Big move to the inside to block for Montoya, and Hinchcliffe in the aerodynamic wash slides up the racetrack, loses momentum. Ryan Hunter-Reay past Tony Kanaan. Hunter-Reay up to 6th. Meanwhile, the lead up front continues to tighten. 12 laps to go. Aleshin running out of time. And Will Power with a much better car.
Big gap behind, big gap. Get after it.
You wonder what Mikhail Aleshin is feeling right now, but we know he seems to be calm and ready for any moment. And keep in mind, this is a driver that won the Formula Renault 3.5 championship a few years ago, and there was a Formula 1 driver, Daniel Ricciardo, in the field that year. And they didn't make any changes the last time. They did lose 3 positions on that pit stop, but that's because they needed a little more fuel than anyone else. They didn't take out downforce. The car has been pretty consistently good all day, and they think they might have something for Will Power.
Mikhail Aleshin, you call him the Russian rocket, Townsend. He needs to get that run off of 3, which he had earlier. The balance seems to have changed a bit. Will Power seems to be a little bit stronger off of 3 than Aleshin.
But I think Kevin's right. Aleshin looks so confident in his car, knowing what to expect. And here's Hunter-Reay on the rev limiter there. Just gets by Scott Dixon. Now can Hunter-Reay get back on the pace and catch Bourdais? I think he's got a good chance there. The question is, can he get to these 2 guys, Power and Aleshin?
Right now, they seem to be the class of the field.
I took Aleshin to meet Bill Vukovic at Indianapolis after he slid through turn 1 on one of his 5 qualifying attempts, and I said, this is the mad Russian, this is the son of the mad Russian. I said, this is the madder Russian, and they both said they're not mad at anybody and they like oval track racing, but I think Mikhail, I gave him a book about Indy, and he started reading it, and he said, I like this Vukovic guy. He led lots of laps.
Let me ask you this, Townsend. 9 laps to go. If you're Mikhail Aleshin, do you want the lead yet?
Well, you might if you run high again like that through turn 1, because Mikhail Aleshin got a big wash, a big handful of understeer, and had to pedal it. But I think that what Aleshin's doing here is just going to wait, maybe with 5 laps to go if I'm Aleshin, and then I make the pass on Power, who's been leading this whole time and might not be able to respond to the control adjustments it takes to run in traffic. But Will Power has a rocket ship, so does Aleshin, and they appear to be on their own right now with 8 to go.
Working lap 193, 192 down. They are continuing to pull away from Josef Newgarden. Mikhail Aleshin had that
slide up the racetrack last time by, lost a couple of tenths on Will Power, and it looks like Power able to pull a little bit out of one.
The other thing that Will Power wants to do here leading is to drive as wide a line as he can at corner exit and make it very difficult for Alotion to find clean air. Back on board with Hunter Ray. He's chasing down Sebastian Bourdais, who we have to applaud for hanging on to tires that are well over 40 laps. So that's a handful for Bourdais. It'll be very impressive if he can grab a top 5.
Oh, absolutely. If he can grab a top 5, he's only had one other one this year, and that was his win at Detroit. So big gamble on their part. They did not get to test here. You could tell he was frustrated. You saw him bottom out there as well in turn 1. That's what the problem was for Simon Pagenaud. And now Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to sneak by on the way to 2, and does.
So Hunter-Reay back up to 4th. Next car in front is Josef Newgarden, about a second up the track. I think he'll have a chance to get close to Josef. I'm not sure about the leaders.
Ryan Hunter-Reay sets his sights on Newgarden. Meanwhile, the battle continues up front. Alotion perhaps content to run in second right now as they work lap 195.
And right now, as we get towards the end of the tire stint here, you see the separation like we've seen earlier. It looks to me like Alotion's really struggling to stay close here.
Looks to me like Will Power's got the better car off of 1 at this point in time. Pulls that gap in between 1 and 2. Will Power trying to win his 4th race of the season. Simon Pagenaud, the only driver in the field with 4 victories this year. Power, we know the championship is going to close down.
And if Power can win, it means 20 points separates him and Simon Pagenaud. We still have 3 races to go with double points at Sonoma. And it seems like we're always treated to such a great championship battle in IndyCar over the last several years. And Robin, this looks to be no different.
Well, the double points are going to certainly give Newgarden maybe a prayer, because he's going to miss Texas this Saturday night. So it's Joseph's only shot is to win that last race, which pays double points.
Look at this. Yes. It only took 2 or 3 laps for Hunter-Reay to close the gap. So that is really impressive. Let's see if he can make swift work of Newgarden. He's here the lift there. A lot of understeer, but we've seen that before. Hunter-Reay's strong corner is turn 1, so he's going to try to regroup here, get the big arcing bite down to the apex of turn 1, see if he can get him going to 2.
Newgarden trying to stay on the podium, stay in the championship hunt. As Robin said, he'll not run at Texas. Hunter-Reay with a good run off of 1. Doesn't seem to close much this time by.
We should tell people he's not running Texas because he's going to crash, and when they restart the race, his car won't be there.
Ryan Hunter-Reay closing a bit there.
Softening his front bar this lap, so he's thinking about the understeer I had previously, and there you see it works a little bit better. He gets down to the yellow line, so he softened the front roll bar. Let's see if he leaves it for turn 1. It looks like he will. But the leaders stretch the gap. Power and Alotion now 5 seconds out in front.
And more importantly, Power 7/10 of a second, and Ryan Hunter-Reay.
He had it going, and then he had to lift at the exit. Now, Newgarden just waved low. Is he coming to the pits, or what was that all about? Well, I think just trying to break the draft, but that was pretty dramatic. I don't know.
Now he's back and forth, trying.
He might have an issue, maybe.
No. Trying to hold on to that podium spot.
Yeah, you're right. 2 laps to go. He's just trying to create havoc for Hunter-Reay in terms of the ability to suck up behind.
The driver able to move as long as it's not in response to the car behind him. So as long as Josef Newgarden makes the move first, he's okay by the rules to do that.
And he keeps doing it in different spots on the track, trying to mix it up lap to lap, keep Ryan Hunter-Reay guessing. But it's not working. Here comes Hunter-Reay. Let's see if he gets a chance going to 3. Oh!
He's got the big run. Now looks to the low side.
Whoa.
Gets the grab, drops down underneath, has the advantage, and takes the spot from Josef Newgarden.
That was so close. Ryan Hunter-Reay's nose to Josef Newgarden's left rear pod.
What a comeback drive by Ryan Hunter-Reay, but talk about coming back.
They've worked on this number 12 all day long for Will Power. Came through the field twice. What a great run. Championship focus on his mind after the problems for Will Power. Looking for 29th win in his career is Will Power. Would be his 4th win on an oval. Will Power is going to close this championship down through turn 3 for the final time onto the front straightaway. Chevrolet, Will Power claim the victory at Pocono.
Awesome day.
Great run by Michaela Lotion. Ryan Hunter-Ray put the problems behind. He comes home with a podium finish. Spectacular stuff. Pocono never disappoints. The racing here always absolutely spectacular. It's what we've seen all day long.
Awesome job.
You're watching NBC SN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal, and by Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road. We'll be right back to Pocono. Ninth victory for Roger Penske's team here at Pocono, reminiscent of a drive that Rick Mears would have put on, improving the car every pit stop and driving it to the front. Congratulations to Will Power, Jan.
And there's the Will Power salute. That has got to be such a gratifying day, Will. Early in the race, you could not work in traffic. The car just wasn't doing it for you. You stuck with it. Did you think at that point you'd be here today?
Well, yeah, it was so hard to follow in traffic because we started very light on downforce, and you know, we just kept adding and adding and then adjusted on the car a bit. I mean, it was just awesome at the end. You know, it was very good in traffic, and you know, just got to thank Verizon, all the access they give the fans. Chevy engine was awesome. The body kit was obviously awesome. So, you know, it's been it's a very good comeback. Very good comeback. Very, very happy to win here. You know, I love winning 500 miles, and this is one of the toughest ovals we race on. So, you know, really happy for Verizon and the whole team.
And I'm sure you're aware, the championship point leader, you saw that his car went back on the hook. He is A-OK, but that puts you within 20 points now in the championship.
Yeah, that's good. You know, we're chipping away at it. Obviously, there's still a lot to go, but now we'll give it everything. Give it everything. We really want to win this championship, and you know, I had such a rough start to the year, and probably the first half of the season I was feeling horrible, and we'd hardly complete a race physically. So, you know, really coming back strong.
Congratulations to Will Power. Kevin?
Michaela Lotion finishes second, by far his best finish on an oval race, matches his best overall in IndyCar. So what emotions do you take away? This was impressive, but you're that close to getting that first win.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the team did an amazing job, you know, all the pit stops, the car was good. Well, we did some things on the car, like one stint before the last one, and it was not very good, so that's when I dropped. But then, you know, when we did the other change on the next pit stop, we gained everything what we lose. But unfortunately, in the end, I just couldn't get Will. You know, he was just too fast. I was on the edge. I almost crashed a couple of times when I was driving behind him. I had wiggles. I was losing front, but I just couldn't get him.
As hairy as that is, that said, do you enjoy ovals more than you thought you would?
Well, that's what I said. I mean, at the beginning of this year, you know, like I didn't know this for sure in the end of my first year, obviously, after Fontana especially, but now I understand that definitely I like ovals, and I like them even more than most of the probably road courses up here. I don't know, it's just awesome. You know, it's so intense racing, and you know, you're always at the edge, and you're always at the edge at the speed 220 miles an hour, you know. So you never know what's gonna happen. And plus today, you know, you had so much wind coming in. So I'm just happy to bring SMP Racing car number 7, you know, up to second place. And yes, we didn't get the victory, but we were very close. And I don't know, where is the closest Honda? There was the closest Honda. Where is it?
No, not the closest. Good show today. Second place for Michaela Lotion. Over to Katie.
And Ryan Hunter-Ray had to come through the field not once but twice today. Ryan, how do you keep yourself motivated in such a frustrating situation?
It was hard. It was really hard. It almost brings you to tears, you know. Just leading the race and the engine shuts off. I mean, what more can happen? but had a lot of fun out there today, if it's any consolation. Just driving through the field twice, and you know, this 28 DHL Honda deserved to be in the fight for the win at the end. It was certainly the fastest car out there, I think, and it's just one of those seasons, I guess, right? You just have to smile and keep pushing. It's just been that way, but certainly, you know, DHL deserved this today, and I had the car under me to do it. I had everything I needed to. Firestone was excellent. The tires were so consistent through the whole run. I was so in the zone with that car today, and then for the engine to shut off while leading it, this one's going to be a hard one to put behind me, but, you know, you just have to do it, I guess.
I think you can define today as a roller coaster for Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Definitely a roller coaster, but like you said, you just have to put it behind you. That's what Will Power did with race number 1 of the season. He wins here at Pocono. What a great win by Will Power today, and Mikhail Aloshin, a great run. Coming into today, he'd only led 37 laps in his IndyCar career. He led 87 today, and Ryan Hunter-Reay, what a great drive from adversity.
A terrific comeback, frustrating for sure with the winning car, but as we look down through the field, tough day for Marco Andretti, just wasn't there for him today, and Helio Castroneves, big championship hit for him.
Talk about the championship.
Yeah, I mean, look at the points now. Power closes to within 20. Newgarden still right there in third, Robin. Like you said, he's not going to have a chance to start in Texas.
Yeah, sad to see, but for Simon Pagenaud, there's still plenty of fight left in him. That is for sure. It's been a great day here at Pocono. Fantastic. Coming up next on NBCSN, Terry Walsh Jennings documentary. Be sure to join us Saturday, 9 o'clock Eastern, for the conclusion of the Firestone 600 from Texas Motor Speedway. For more information, log on to Verizon IndyCar Series. Log on to NBCSports.com. Congratulations to Will Power. For Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, Jan Beekes, Katie Hargett, Kevin Lee, and Robin Miller. We'll see you from Texas.